Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of our weekly Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition online role-playing adventures. By special episode, I don't mean we're going to portray the dangers of caffeine pill addiction. This is our massive recap episode for Princes of the Apocalypse, our year-plus-long campaign we just wrapped up in our previous session. So in this episode, we will attempt to jaunt back through our campaign, answer questions, reveal all the maps, talk about the different plot paths you guys went down, and just kind of put a final bow on our campaign before we move on to our next adventure, which we will reveal at the end of this episode. As always, we live stream, record, and upload our sessions every week. Keep up with our adventures on my YouTube channel, as well as weekly session write-ups on my site at roguewatson.com. I'm Eric Watson, your Dungeon Master, and you can follow me on Twitter at Rogue Watson. I'm joined as always by my awesome players, Chris, who played Kalinar, the Gold Dragonborn Paladin Fighter. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Eric.
Heather, who played Miri the Human Monk. Hello, Heather.
Hello.
Raymond, who played Kethra the Half-Elf Rogue. Hello, Raymond. And Reese, who played Talus the Human Wizard. Hello, Reese.
Hello.
Has stepped away. We use Roll20.net for video sharing in our campaign, and for streaming and recording, I use Open Broadcaster software, and for some reason this thing is not working very well right at the moment. Let's see if we can see what the holdup is. I don't think I changed any settings from last time.
What is it doing?
I'm just getting the high CPU. Its video's freezing,
Wow.
but and unfortunately, I'll be skipping around from video to video, or from map to map tonight. So hopefully, it won't jack it up too much. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm gonna start this over and let's see what happens.
Alright.
Well, hang on, let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna turn it off a second. Okay, hopefully this will run a little better. I don't know why it was fucking up for a second ago. Hi, soup can. Literally had no settings changed, and all of a sudden it was like, Whoops. Yeah. Alright, so anyway, this is our recap episode where I am going to attempt to go back through our entire campaign of Princes of the Apocalypse. And I'm calling this our epilogue and recap episode because that's what I called the other final episodes that we did for our previous campaign / Shadowrun missions. In this case, the timing actually worked out where we did the entire epilogue at the end of our session last week, so if you're looking for the actual epilogue, you'll want to go to the second half of session 57. This episode will be just the entire recap and just us shooting the shit about Princes of the Apocalypse. So the way I'm going to organize this episode is I'm going to jump through our adventure chronologically while ferrying everyone through fully revealed maps. At any time, y'all can jump in and ask questions, make comments, and whatnot, and obviously I will do the same. At the end, I would like everyone to come up with your favorite moment or overall session of the campaign, and kind of help me give your 2 cents on Princes of the Apocalypse. I found this campaign referenced a lot in Storm King's Thunder. Funny you should mention Storm King's Thunder. Stay tuned.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing, indeed.
I'm gonna eat my fruit roll-up.
Fruit roll-up. Alright, so the way we started this adventure is I had to already make a lot of changes
God.
because we came from Lost Mine of Phandelver. And the reason I chose Princes mainly is because it took place literally right next door to Phandelver. In fact, I think part of this map actually is the same as Fendelworth, Coneyberry, and even maybe a bit of Tribor on there. So the nice thing is I could already bake in the story hooks for you guys because it was kind of down the road. And I think I had 3 of them. We had Gundren tell you guys to go to Red Larch to deliver, like, ore. The Cleric, Sister Garrily, wanted to travel with you guys to join the Shrine at Red Larch. And then I had Talus get a bunch of freaky-deaky visions and nightmares about the coming apocalypse.
Poor
So
Tal.
that was all designed to get you guys to the valley, which means my opening was quite a bit different than the books because the book has you guys open in Red Larch. So our first 2 sessions were actually just traveling, and I had I think maybe 2 or 3 encounters set up. Some of them were just like weather fucking you guys up, and some of it was actual like people on the road encounters. I think this was one of them.
Yeah, this was the Earth Cult guys.
Yeah, kind of bandits, and then some
Oh, yeah,
mysterious-looking
Sister
guys
Garrily
in
almost died here.
stony armor. Yeah, she was. I think she's built like a level 2 cleric. And the other interesting thing is you guys were a much higher level than what princes would start at because
Oh, really?
the main quest for princes starts you at level 3. If you're below level 3, there's a bunch of little side shit you can do around Red Larch to get you to 3. You guys were 4, almost 5, so you guys were actually already over leveled for the beginning.
Wow.
And I just kind of rolled with it. I didn't really balance things up too much because I figured you'd catch up pretty soon. So we got to Red Larch, and this was kind of your typical, similar to when we reached the first big town in the last campaign. Why do you have a giant picture of you on here?
I don't. Why do you? Or did I put that there?
I
can move it around.
I see that. I don't know why. Be gone. I don't know why that's on here. Galar's grown to epic proportions. So this was a similar where you guys came in and basically just talked to a bunch of NPCs and kind of got the lay of the land, figured out what was going on. Now the Tomb of Moving Stones, which is the underground dungeon underneath Red Larch, was designed as a level 2 dungeon, and that is also designed to basically just get you guys to level 3.
Oh.
I read it and really liked it as a introduction to the entire adventure, where it's like, here is an example of like the Earth Cult having insinuated it, at least this one like priest guy, into this town and was like slowly converting the elders and all this business. So I really liked that dungeon, even though it was designed as a level 2, which means I knew you guys would handle it quite easily.
Yeah.
And here we'll see an example now. It should be that I deleted all of the dynamic lighting on here, so this should be just a totally open map you guys can look at. And this one, I did it backwards than what I ended up doing later, which this one I blew up to like double proportion, which is why it's huge.
That's what she said.
That's right.
Hmm.
So I like that it's a really tiny dungeon. This is the one where you guys had to do a lot of talking with people, and there was like a halfling at a bar you got information from.
I did like this. Yeah, it was like a little detective story thing. We were trying to like sneak in behind some building or something.
Yeah, there were 2 main entrances. One of them was I think at the quarry, and the other one was in the in like the back of a shop somewhere. But I get to do the fun thing of having the sinkhole appear right in the middle of town, drag a bunch of people in there. You guys had to immediately go to work saving people, and then all of a sudden, oh, there's this whole dungeon underneath the town. I really like that concept.
Yeah.
And this is the one where it ended up with all the floating stones in the final area with the Earth Priest. And it's designed for level 2 because you're meant to fight all these encounters separately, and I scaled it up by having the what are these, basically the bandits are, come in right when you find the priest at the end. So it was a bigger encounter.
He had like cult guys.
Yeah. Essentially the ones that were like loyal to him.
Right.
from Lost Mine to Storm Kings. Yeah, it's kind of too bad the way Lost Mine works really well as an intro dungeon to as an intro adventure to a lot of these published adventures. Unfortunately, I think most of the published adventures want to start you at level 3, and Lost Mine seems to get you to like 4.5. So levels don't quite line up perfectly for that. Raymond's webcam for me is black.
I just hit. Well, I was about to say I just hit reconnect and he reconnected, but now he's black again. Maybe he needs to hit reconnect.
We're having some problems tonight. Good lord. So this was interesting because you guys took this motherfucker alive, and I was not expecting that at all. Talus ran up and I think caved him in or did something where you guys were able to incapacitate him. So you took this Earth Priest alive, and he's supposed to kind of hint about him being an Earth cultist, but with him alive, I actually gave you a big piece of information, which was the location of the monastery that essentially the Earth cult works out of. That was a huge clue that normally I would have kept back because that's supposed to be the 3rd place you visit. And I knew by giving it to you this would get you there. But on the other hand, I'm thinking, well, they're also a little higher level, so hopefully it won't be a problem.
Yeah.
So you guys basically solved that, and then in Red Larch, and then made yourselves basically already heroes of the town at that point. And so Red Larch was kind of your base of operations going forward.
We took him in front of the town and interrogated him publicly, didn't we?
Yes. Yeah. And a bunch of the townsfolk too. It was a big dramatic scene.
Yeah.
The monastery, however, is actually kind of... Oh, go ahead.
What did they end up doing with that guy? They just took him back to Neverwinter or something, right?
Yeah, you guys had him. Yeah, I think you had the sheriff bring him to Waterdeep. I had him in my back pocket for a while as I need to bring this guy back and do something with him. And then the more the weeks passed and the more you guys were doing other things, I was just kind of there's never really a good moment to bring him out. I always thought well, maybe I could just stick him back in the Earth Temple, have him doing something, but it never, it just kind of ended up being a loose thread, so I guess he ended up being actually incarcerated. Because I always thought, alright, a bad guy was technically captured and went away, so technically he could be resolved, but I did think I could always use him again if I needed to, but I never ended up doing him again. So you have the location of the monastery at this point. However, the nearest thing to you guys within 10 miles was that spire. And a lot of people were talking about it, and you guys did the right thing, and we're going to investigate. I think you got information about the graves first, which was a battle between the Earth and Air cult, I believe. Which a lot of these locations don't seem to make much sense from the book, and in fact, the errata, I think, actually switches them around at one point. There's a lot of annoying errors in the campaign book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's why would the location of the graves be down here when they should have fought near the river and all this weirdness? But thankfully, you guys never questioned any of that. For somebody that looks at the book and reads everything, I'm all right, some of this does not make sense.
Yeah,
at one point, so the keeps are supposed to be literally at the top of the temple, and the temples are all supposed to go all the way down to their nodes. So they're supposed to be literally 4 corners, and you should look at it from the map. The base map that came with everything had that screwed up. At least 2 of the places were in wrong locations for that. And it wasn't until they errated it later that it's oh, by the way, this should be here. And you're well, god damn it. So, we got to the... Chris froze. What is up with tonight? Holy shit.
On my screen, everyone just keeps blinking.
I know.
Black, so I have to keep reconnecting to get everyone to come back up again.
I am seeing that. Holy crap. We usually have these kind of issues. And it's got to be on their end. Anytime Roll20 does something, we always suffer for it.
It's every few seconds for me. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm seeing... The only... Reese and Heather have been there the whole time. Chris just froze, and Raymond's been blinking in and out.
You just
that's
froze
me
from there.
reconnecting.
Yeah.
Honey, it might be you.
It might be. Alright, so we saw the spire. Yeah, I don't... So we fought at the shallow graves. You guys fought off some knights with vultures. That was the first time you'd seen the air cult. We went to the spire, or we went to the valley first, which this one was interesting because I had this map, which came with the book, and I've had people on YouTube ask me, like, how did you do all the encounters and stuff? Like, well, I just had to fucking make all that. Like, all the different maps were essentially images that I found and tokens I put together and built all those little battle maps, which I think we did maybe... It was the one in the canyon with the griffins where you guys stole the eggs and met the Aarakocra, and then I think you fought off some gnolls at one point near a riverbank. So this is the only...
I still have that griffin egg.
Do you? I could have sworn we did something with that fucking egg at one point.
I think he tried to sell it to somebody at one point.
One day I will raise a fine griffin.
They
Probably
wouldn't
in our
take it
next
off.
campaign.
Yeah.
If we ever meet Ketra, she's gonna have her pet
She's
griffin.
She's gonna riding a griffin.
Yeah.
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 Probably.
No, he wouldn't, because it was like illegal or something.
So I had a bunch of maps set up and locations. Instead of basically having you guys just roll through here, I had specific areas set up that I told you could basically go to, and then I had battle maps set up for there. With the goal of you would make it to the Spire. And the Spire was one of the more interesting locations because it started off non-hostile. And you can see the map, the kind of system I used, which was literally levels on top of each other.
So you didn't have this map?
I had this map, yeah.
Oh, you had this map. You didn't have the maps for like areas inside the Aarakocra Valley.
The valley, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Those I had to do. There was like a vulture battle. There was a gnoll battle. There was the griffins. And I think I had one more, but you guys didn't go there. So there was a bunch of... Oh, and then where the actual air temple was, that location. So all of those I had to basically get images for and then resize and put tokens on and set up because that wasn't there. This one was neat because I put a friend of Miri's, or an old friend, at the entrance. And it said in the book, like, this is a character that's like a Waterdeep person from Waterdeep and all that. I was like, oh shit. And the idea was I didn't want you guys to charge in here guns blazing because I thought it would be a fun role-playing chance to be able to walk through this place, talk to the people, and there's actually an event that happens, which is the Manticore hunt, where you guys there's a Manticore in the valley, you guys gotta hop on hippogriffs and go fucking chase it with us.
Right.
And that was when Kethra decided to stay behind and sneak into places and basically learn a bunch of information. I think you got the note that they had captured Miri's mom from the dude's like desk, so you guys learned that information. So when you guys came back, you basically landed at the top and actually defeated the boss first, and then worked your way down because you did a cool like interrogation of like essentially trying to punch him off the top. At one point we stopped combat where we talked again, and then we started combat up again.
Oh right, yeah, that's right. It was going on simultaneously. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna let him go.
Mm-hmm.
After I beat the hell out of him, I was gonna let him go.
You guys actually fought your way back down this whole dungeon. At one point, I think you barricaded yourselves in and short rested, and that's when Savra, who was the Feathergale Knight woman, actually got away. And I did have in my back pocket forever, and if you recall, you finally met her again at the very end of the game.
She was one of the prisoners.
Yes, in the final dungeon. Because I was thinking, and there's actually several places where there's prisoners in multiple areas, and I was like, she's going to be in one of these. It just depends on which one you guys end up going to.
Right.
What did you guys think of the Spire?
I liked it. It didn't even occur to me at the time that it was a dungeon or whatever.
Even once I showed you it was a big Roll20 map.
It's still the way it was playing out was very like you don't have to fight these people. Like you could just like it felt very like there could be a political solution to this.
Yeah.
Especially after we rocked that Hippogriff hunt. Well, we didn't. Talus did.
Talus, so at this point, you guys were like newly level 5. Talus launched his new hypnotic pattern at a manticore in mid-flight, and it fell like 100 feet below.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. That's another example of I didn't think you guys would be able to take on that thing at all. Let alone defeat it.
We do.
Yep. Never underestimate the players is pretty much the biggest lesson I've learned.
Sometimes they'll just deny your character altogether.
So the interesting thing is obviously you're pointed to the path where the air temple is, which is I think it was like the looking glass was pointed at it, and I should have honestly just eliminated it because I did not want you guys going there yet.
Oh, right.
So what you're supposed to do, and I don't know how to do this with it being open world, it's very frustrating. You're supposed to hit all the 4 different surface keeps first, then hit the 4 temples first, then hit that Fane of the Eye big drow cave area first, then hit the final nodes at the end. And yeah, I said first too many times. And you're always supposed to go air. Well, here, let me ask you. What do you think the order of strength of the elements is?
I know fire was toughest.
That is
Air
correct.
always.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
You say
Earth, you
air.
mean?
Air always sucks.
Yeah.
So maybe air, water, earth, fire?
Yeah, Earth was at times a little difficult.
You are correct. Air. So you are designed to go. Well, so the leveling says you should go air, water, earth, fire on top, then air, water, earth, fire, temples, then the Fane of the Eye, then air, water, earth, fire, nodes. That's what.
How would we ever do that? Like that?
Without me throwing up like magical barriers everywhere, I don't know. And it wasn't until I started getting into it when you guys were about really getting into the meat of the dungeon that I was looking at it going, oh my god, I cannot stop them from just wandering into fucking completely different dungeons and just going from there. Like it was, as a DM, it's terrifying to have to prep all that. I'm getting ahead of myself on this, but yeah. So the point is, I straight up put a magical barrier door there. Like I was like, this dungeon you guys just did is designed for I think 3rd level, the Feathergale Spire, and the air temple is like 5 or 6.
Okay.
And I was like, that's a big jump.
Right. What were we at the time? Do you
I don't
remember?
remember. Oh, well, I think I have that information. I think you guys were actually 5. I'd have to actually open a browser to check on that. I have that written down, not on here, but on somewhere else when you guys leveled up. But I know you started the adventure at 4 and hit 5 pretty quick, so I think you actually were 5 when you started here. But my thought was like, I want to get the lower stuff done first and then go to the higher stuff. So
Right.
you guys went to the entrance. I had it completely sealed off. I was like, you cannot go in here. So you guys did the next logical thing, turned around, went to the Monastery, which was the other location that you had.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting to what is my personal favorite overall area session time of the campaign. And that is dropping you guys into the basement with an angry Umber Hulk.
Oh, right.
So this was another one that the place was not hostile at first. You guys knocked on the door and
It was hostile. We just didn't know it was
you
hostile.
just didn't know it, yeah. You walked in there and had an audience with the like head priest of the place, and he had you right in the middle of the place and just talked. I forgot even how we talked about it. I think it was you guys were trying to talk about what happened in Red Larch with the Earth Cult, and
I think he seemed accommodating too to
Yep.
begin with. It was just like
yeah, they were playing it all sly, and then he did the classic hit a lever and dunked you guys into the basement here. So the interesting thing is this is a 2-level dungeon that's pretty big. You guys walked in the entrance, but then I shoved you into the 2nd level, and now you had to fight your way out.
which was unpleasant.
It was unpleasant.
It was amazing. I loved this. I loved this so much. You guys freaked the fuck out with this Umber Hulk. Holy shit.
If I remember correctly, so the Umber Hulk was just kicking our asses right off the bat, and we ran.
You guys actually straight up ran into...
And then we just sort of caught him in a door or something?
I definitely knew this was a dangerous situation. You guys were 5, and I think he was a 5th level creature, so it wasn't insurmountable, but you guys were just caught unawares by it. And in fact, he was actually... I think he was mutilated, if I recall. Like, he didn't have his confusing gaze on him, or something about him wasn't working.
Yeah.
To actually lower his CR level.
Wow.
Yeah, you guys fled through a doorway, and I basically had him take a couple rounds clawing through the door.
That's right.
And then, yeah, you did a bunch of damage to her. By the time he got through, he finally died. So this was one where you guys just had to fight your way through this dungeon. Zombies and, like, orcs and shit. Ogres. I think you did find the prisoners, including, I believe, the first delegation guy was down here, one of the dwarves. More importantly, you found the doorway to a lich, which was... That was in this place.
Casper the Friendly Lich.
That's right. Yeah, it was a guarded door in here, and you guys went through it. It was supposed to be, in the campaign book, it's like supposed to be locked under this really high-level spell. And you guys are basically just not supposed to jack with this guy at all, or even hardly know he's there. And I'm like, I've got to use this thing. Like, this sounds too cool. And especially where we worked in Kalinar's backstory as a paladin of Summit Hall, and this guy was like, his brother had like started that order and all that. I was like, this is some fucking fantastic opportunities here. So I was really pleased with how you guys handled the Lich, and especially essentially became his sworn hand.
Yeah. Was he one of those situations where like you weren't supposed to fight him because he would just murder you if you did?
Right, a Lich is a 9th level spellcaster.
Okay.
He would have obliterated all of you in seconds. It's literally, his campaign book says, if they jack with him at all, he casts the following like 4 spells, which should eliminate any party. It's like,
oh my God.
he can stop time itself and then just like cast a bunch of spells to just obliterate you.
Great.
I mean, Lich is up there with like Elder Dragons and shit. Like, you don't fuck with that. And I think at one point I whispered Tals, I was like, this thing is like bad news. And
yeah.
I tried to make that obvious so you don't have to like metagame and be like, we can't fight a Lich, but like your characters would know that you can't fight a Lich.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You're like, oh god, we're in the presence of a badass. But he was a friendly Lich, thankfully.
That's right.
Certainly not aligned with the cult at all, and you guys handled him very well. This was the guy that rewarded you with the Amulet of Constitution, which ended up giving you a fuck ton of hit points. So you've had that thing since like level 5 or 6.
I never got... Oh, okay. That was... Yeah.
I was there. And
Way
used this
back when.
place as a safe house, basically. A short rest in the middle of the dungeon. And then you fought your way through the surface, and frankly, I thought this was going to be a slog. Because it's basically just room... It's just room-to-room bad guys. But
right,
we had a lot of fun with it. Like, you guys ambushed people really well. At one point, you, I think, charmed one of the monks who helped you ambush people.
That's right.
State Farm.
Yeah.
He was there.
Yeah, he was there.
What happened to that guy?
Didn't we see him again?
You did see him again. He was at a bar on the road somewhere. You guys met with him and basically told him to go to Red Larch and help them. And then I probably should have used him again at Red Larch at some point, but
I don't think we ever went back to Red Larch after the... I know this gets ahead of it, but after that bomb exploded, we never went back.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, you guys eventually just everybody went back to Red Larch, even though it was like a wasteland of a town.
Right. And for us, it was like, there's no reason to go back. There's no supplies there. We can't get anything from that town.
It's one of being so funny with the... You'd come in here and like at one point you went in here and just started breaking plates in the kitchen, which activated a nearby room. They were like, "What the hell's going on in here?" Like you guys were just being so brazen after that.
Just kicking the table stuff over. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys did a lot of like cool ambush tactics in here that ended up working really well, and essentially just cleared out this entire dungeon like completely.
Right. Yeah.
In like I think 3 weeks, 3 sessions. So after here, we went back to Red Larch. You guys have now taken out 2 of the surface keeps. And I believe you have learned the location of the water keep from the dwarf that you rescued. I think he ended up giving me the location of Rivergard Keep.
Okay.
And it was here that I remember I strongly told you guys, hey...
Buy horses.
Well, you did buy horses at this point, you're right. And you guys were like, well, let's just travel by horses across the hills. And I was like, go to Wamford and maybe you get a boat, because I'm thinking there's no other time they're going to ever use the boat. There's a whole bunch of river encounters in the book set up. And I was like, I was looking at the map and looking at the geography, and I'm like, I don't think there's any other time they're going to use a boat unless they're trying to get to Rivergard Keep. So for some reason
use for a boat.
Yeah, you followed my advice and went down Cairn Road. And that, I think that was at the inn where you might have seen that guy again, barge right in. Well, you went down to Wamford and actually fought some guys. There was that caravan attack, which I showed off the water cult for the first time. Right here, where you guys actually saw a caravan like in the middle of being ransacked by the water cult, and had to fight them off.
Oh right, yeah.
And I think here is where I gave you the location of the fire keep, because one of them was like traveling to that place to sell something. So the biggest tool I had in the beginning as a DM was you guys first had to learn the location of all these places. The spire is the only one that you can actually see from like the town. The rest I can sprinkle in. So I gave you the location of the monastery early on, and then after that I gave you the Rivergard Keep, and I think at this point I gave you the fire one, but you guys were like, let's keep going on to do the water one, which was the correct call.
What was the fire one? Like, I don't remember what the overlaying tower.
It was the hills with the giant tower. They were doing the effigy.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
It was a weird one because it wasn't really a dungeon. It was just, well, I guess the tower was a very small dungeon, but it was just a bunch of different camps set up, so it was a lot different. That one, by the way, ended up taking us a while because that was, I believe, right around the time that we moved. So we had a bunch of like truncated episodes. So yeah, we got to Wamford and we met Schwaller, who was the like pirate genocide guy.
Ah, yeah, the blue pirate.
Yep. You guys got a boat. Conscripted some people to boat you up there on the river. And we got to have some cool river encounters. I had an entire... I unleashed these fish guys on you.
Yeah, those are pretty cool. What was it called?
Yeah. Sawagan, I think?
Okay.
Like evil mermaids. Evil merfolk.
Right.
I had a whole boat encounter up here that you guys basically were able to wave away. I think you all hid in the cabin and told Schwaller to just like wave them off or something.
That's right. So that was going to be a fight if we didn't
That was going to be a fight, yeah. A lot of these things that you guys were like, oh, it didn't help us. I was like, I did have fights set up for a lot of these situations, and you guys get out of them. And you guys had a cool plan going into it, but it kind of fell apart as soon as you actually got to the keep itself. Because the ship just kind of pulls into the middle of the keep, and then they start unloading things, and you guys just kind of like, the door opened, we're like, hello, and just started punching people. So I was like, well, all right, that's one way to do it.
What was the alternative there then? If the boat like runs right in the middle.
Yeah, I don't know. Come up with something.
Yeah.
And obviously this one looks like a mess because things happened afterwards. It's just so much blood and bodies. So this ended up being the most straightforward, kind of boring-ish of the keeps. At this point, you guys were like level 6, and this was a level 4 dungeon, which doesn't sound that different, but remember level 5 is a huge power spike in 5th edition.
Oh yeah.
So you guys blazed through this entire dungeon on like no rests and just murdered a whole bunch of little things. And frankly, it's not even that interesting. I mean, it's literally just a keep with like some barracks and pretty much just regular dudes everywhere. And eventually you fight your way to the inner keep, which is ruled by a werebore named Jolliver.
That's right. And Kethra briefly wanted to turn into a were creature.
Yeah, I never got the roll.
Briefly.
Yeah.
Always, it's the goal. I guess I didn't restore the actual second level for that map, but there was a boss fight in there somewhere. But yeah, this ended up being one of the more disappointing ones for me because it was just you guys were just high enough level and there just wasn't a lot of interesting things going on.
Just didn't hit that sweet
And
spot.
maybe I just didn't do enough with it, but you guys just kind of kicked its ass. Interestingly, what I didn't expect is you guys wandered into the water temple at this point, because I didn't close this one off, and in fact, I think you do find an actual key for it, which is this entrance where you guys are right now on the boat.
The boss fight on this one, though, to step back just a little bit, that was the one where we did another ambush tactic on them, didn't we?
You did.
Where,
I think
Kethra like called them and told them people were coming in, and they.
I think that is right. Yes.
We surrounded
Yeah.
them.
You guys,
Okay.
because you guys like went around the bottom and then got to there and ended up on the second floor to where you were looking down and saw
Yeah.
the guys down there, so you could actually call them up. So
Right.
you actually hit that final boss room at the perfect tactical spot. And then yeah, you wandered into the water temple and you got to the entrance of it. I guess I can switch over to it. Which I was like, oh shit, this is a way higher level thing. And I think you guys realized that this was where Kethra had the knife fight with a shark.
Right.
That
It was
sounds
like a
cool.
knight. Yeah, a knight riding a shark, and just it was. This is a big map. Obviously, this is the lower right corner of this map is where you guys came in.
Yeah. Yeah. When did we figure out that it was too high for us? I know we didn't go in at this point.
You did not. I don't know if it was just you guys were really drained, because again, you guys had gone through that whole like Rivergard Keep too. So
It wasn't supposed to.
I don't know. And maybe I might have heavily suggested it. I was like, this place looks pretty tough. But whatever the case is, you actually did come out. I used that opportunity. There were a few guys left in Rivergard Keep, and I had them set an ambush up when you guys exited, and had like another fight outside of back at the keep. And then from there, you guys actually went all the way back to Red Larch after the water one, where I had the Hellhounds jump out in the inn. You guys were gonna
Right.
sit there and
yes.
rest, and I was like, all right, time to play my fire card hand, which a lot of those kind of encounters were set up in the book specifically, like during certain story beats, like, okay, once 3 keeps go down, run this.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was like, you know, if it's like, if the fire one is still standing after 3, then run the Hellhound encounter. And it says you can run it anywhere, but it suggests like, hey, you can even run it while they're resting. And I was like, ooh, I'm gonna have them tear out the inn. And you guys did also you got the side quest, our first major side quest at this point, which was the Nettlebee Ranch. The little halfling guy told you guys, hey, we've got a problem in my little halfling ranch.
Right.
I forgot what the actual hook for this was, but you guys followed him there, and
I think it was just like the kid was just like, oh, we need help. Come back to the ranch.
yeah, there was some like this tomb was being defiled or something.
Well, those barbarians that were gonna like kill them all or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yes.
they thought it was the fire cult doing it, or fire. You know, you guys were meant to think like it was something to do with fire, and it ended up being
Yeah.
the fact that the actual halfling elders were earth cultists,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh, they were earth cultists. I'm not sure I got that. I just thought they
yeah,
were just bad wizards or something.
and they actually, I set you guys up to come here and then launch all this barbarian shenanigans to try and kill all you guys.
I just remember this scenario as the first real ideological split between Kalinar and Talos. Where Kalinar fucking executed one of these barbarians in front of the house.
Oh, yeah. Holy shit, I remember that. This was a scene I had set up.
Oh yeah, when Talos had principles.
Yeah.
Back when.
Where Kalinar wore everyone down.
Yeah.
So this was one I played more free-floating in terms of I didn't know at what point you guys were going to step in or do something and what was going to happen. So this was much more me ad-libbing my way through stuff. Ended up being we got all the way to the barbarians were like slaughtering livestock before you guys took action. And then, yeah, you took some of them captive, made the rest surrender, and then at one point had them stand outside the house because there was like another guy in the house like trying to get at the halflings in there, and she's like, I can't call him off, and you just fucking executed her like on the spot. I was like, good lord. That's pretty awful.
That was the whole idea for Kalinar was like somewhere between Captain America and Judge Dredd, and this was just stepping closer and closer to Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
I think where he mostly ended up.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I think it ended up being kind of a neat little sidetrack. And ended up... This is where Talos got his bag of holding. Was the reward from the halflings. From here, we did go to the fireplace, which was the Scarlet Moon Hall. And this was... So this was considered the fire surface dungeon, and it was really weird because it wasn't even really a dungeon. It was basically a series of camps on these giant hills, which I was very confused on what you're supposed to see and not see, and it was kind of hard to translate that to Roll20, so I ended up basically blacking everything out and just having the campfires be visible, and you guys would have to see from location to location. The other interesting thing is, once you get into fights, you can add in all the other camps pretty quick. And I think that happened once or twice, where nearby camps just jumped in and helped.
And Miri controlled a bear.
Yeah, Miri got a bear.
Very briefly,
I had a
bear.
bear.
You did have a bear.
Oh,
I think
my bear.
you freed it because some of the druids were obviously not real druids, and there was a bear that was just captured against its will.
Yeah.
I miss my
Forget which
bear.
one it was.
There were also two werewolves here, but I think Kethra wasn't here at the time and didn't get the lycanthropy either.
Damn it.
Now, when you guys got to this fight, this was one of our more harrowing fights in this whole campaign. I don't know if you guys actually remember this, but I had to pull my punches quite a bit because you guys had gotten through that whole area without resting. And then this final fight had hellhounds, earth, fire spellcasters that all could cast fireball, and a fire elemental that burst out of the
effigy, yeah.
the Wicker Man guy, yeah.
Yeah.
And this ended up being a really harrowing fight for you guys, to where I think I had like priests not casting fireball when they could have casted fireball, and one of them literally one of them just ran back into the temple like just to get away, and like I had to pull back a little bit because it was getting dire. But
I think I remember I was wasting a lot of time trying to knock down that effigy too, and then I ended up knocking down the effigy, and it still turned into a fire elemental. So I was like, all right, well.
yeah. Later on, I would give that to you with the Tyr Temple.
That's
with
right.
knocking something down and preventing a giant fight.
Yeah.
So this one was a two-parter because it also involved the inside of the tower, which did not come with a map. So I had to put my own map of the tower together, and it ends up being really weird and confusing because it's essentially each one is the square on top of each other, except for and then the outside. Somebody on YouTube commented this is the Donkey Kong map where he had like all these ladders and scaffolding going up. So I apologize for the roughness of this map that I literally just fucking...
So you built this? You just put this all together?
The one thing I was able to find is the brown squares with the like stairs on them and stuff. Somebody made all those. I mean, they're really basic
Yeah.
for like each level, but somebody had made those specifically for this tower, and then I had to put them together, and then I had to put the little rock thing on the bottom, and then the scaffolding and ladders and all that jazz. So
I think, I mean, it ended up working fine. The only thing that was confusing initially was this little bit right here,
yeah,
where like this was simultaneously stairs up, and this was a pit going
that
down.
was a pit going down. Yeah. Fun fact: this pit is also supposed to lead to the fire temple, but I just straight up did not tell you guys that because I did not want you going to the fucking fire temple yet.
Ah.
You jump down.
Each of the it's supposed to be that these little demon things down here are basically creating or like opening the path to the fire temple. I think there's a whole bunch of rubble down there, so it's kind of hard to tell. You won't able to see it unless you're down there. But at one point, Kalnar got shoved down there, and he should have been able to see it. But I didn't want you guys to go there because each of the surface keeps has an entrance to the temple, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I told you that order. You're supposed to go air, water, earth, fire, air, water, earth, fire. So I was like, well, you already know where the air one is, and now you've gotten the key to go to the air temple. So like, I don't want you to go to the other temple because the fire temple is like 9th level or something. I was like, oh, I can't I don't want to do that business.
There should be like level markers above the entrances to these dungeons.
God, it's yeah. I've bitched
raid.
endlessly about the way that's set up, but it's for me it was very stressful. So once again, from here, you essentially every time you did a keep, you went back to Red Larch and rested up. Got all the long rests done. At this point, you got into a bar fight. I believe you found a letter in Rivergard Keep that I'm trying to say. It was the bartender at one of the bars that like wrote it. It was a water cultist spy or something. So there was a little event there. It was like a bar fight. From there, we went to the air temple. So pretty much the structure was just like surface keep, Red Larch, surface keep, Red Larch. With the one interesting one being we went down to Womford and then took a river boat up to the next one. But you guys did go to the air temple next, even though you had access to technically the earth one. Because I think you saw the stairs. I don't know if you ever put it together. Those stairs actually led down to a whole other dungeon in the monastery basement. And I think I kept the door closed, and I might have given you... I think I did give you the key to it, but you guys decided not to go down there, thankfully. The air temple was the first really big dungeon we did for several weeks. Like, you guys cleared the shit out of this dungeon. This one had the spooky noises at the beginning. You came in the lower left corner if you're trying to look at it.
Yeah, little Tengu creatures.
Yep.
Are they the ones making the noise?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, that little screamy noise?
Yep.
Yeah.
Their powers, they can't actually speak. They can just mimic other sounds. But they can mimic them perfectly.
Gotcha.
So I use that as basically a horror thing. Yeah, this is when Kethra murdered the shit out of this bard, who is supposed to be Arisi's like right-hand man, and can dump a lot of information on that. And she fucking killed him in one hit in that battle. I was like, well, alright, he's gone.
Wasn't
Never
even
had-
intentional.
He never had a chance to surrender.
Yeah. Or escape. Or even do anything. Like, I think literally it was like the first round. Just do...
Yeah.
They were playing like bone musical instruments or whatever.
Yeah.
Human bones, yeah.
Yep.
So he was helpful? He wasn't a bad guy?
No, he was definitely a bad guy, but he just
Uh-oh.
had useful information on him.
Oh, so we would have cooked it out in it.
Or he was one of those that could have escaped and harried you guys later on, too. This is the one where you talked to the genie, who ended up being a friendly genie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Gave you the quest to get his genie lamp. You guys fought... Oh, the wyvern was a fucking hard creature. Probably the hardest thing you'd fought up until that point.
We fight the wyvern before we fought the golem?
Yes, because we fought it first when it had a rider, and we ended up killing the rider,
Yes.
and then we went a different direction, and then when the water drained, we killed the golem, and then the wyvern came back.
I think you might have seen the golem first, and then fucking ran away, and then fought the wyvern, and then somehow one or two of you ended up down there. At one point, I think somebody was down there fighting it, and somebody else like jumped on top of the wyvern. Like something epic happened with that fight.
Yeah, Catherine wanted a freaking
treasure.
goblet,
That's
Yeah.
right.
which I ended up with.
That goblet was worth a shit ton of money. That golem is really hard too, and you guys debuffed the shit out of it. That was the one where Talus kept blinding it every turn
Yes.
with his
The
stupid fucking
visuals-
methods.
The visuals on that is pretty hilarious.
Yeah, I was
Those
like,
little smoke methods just pouring
Man.
smoke into it.
that like crippled this thing, and it's like a CR10 or something crazy. Fun fact: the pipe of smoke method summoning is an ability that one fire cultist had, not an item, and I made that an item because I was like, that's a cool fucking item. I want you guys to have that. That was the boss of the fire tower you guys fought. Had him have that piece of loot.
Right, yeah.
So the weird part for me is that you guys completely skipped the pyramid. Never went inside. There's a giant pyramid in the middle of this level, and you guys just went around it.
It's scary. There's a
Apparently.
giant building in the middle of the map.
There's a wyvern there.
There's a woman
Yep.
on top of it. Yeah, we don't want to go in
It was
there.
the wyvern, yeah.
So you guys went north and fought a bunch of these little buildings that had like the Umber Hulk and the ghouls, cloaker, a bunch of crap in there.
The cloaker was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was a neat fight.
Catherine it was enveloped by that cloaker for a good amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah, just suffocating. This was also an example of if you guys wandered off into these directions, the map literally has like tunnels that go. You end up in another temple.
Really?
But thankfully, I think I either put locked doors there or just strongly suggested you guys not wander off, basically.
Yeah.
And this is weirding me out because you guys basically just kept going and then went to the right and then the upper right, found the worm staircase, and then went down. I was like, crap, they just went through this whole dungeon but missed the actual boss.
That's right.
Literally,
Oh,
all that's in
wait.
that temple is one fight, and then you go up the stairs, and then there's the air prophet right there with the genie horn.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. I do remember this being where the levels got confusing in terms of us not knowing where one dungeon ended.
And this is when
then
I
another
realized,
begins.
yeah, this is when I started realizing, like, oh crap, this is actually even more difficult than I
Because
thought.
At one point, we ended up in the water
Yes,
temple, and we
here.
didn't know it. We
So-
had no idea we were in there.
Well, when I switch maps, you can surmise it's a different area. So what happened here, you guys went through this whole dungeon, skip the pyramid, go to the upper right, find this worm staircase, which is pretty fucking cool.
Mm-mm.
You go down, and you make it to the Fane of the Eye. Now, at this point, you guys are maybe 6, maybe 7. The Fane of the Eye is a 10th level dungeon.
Oh wow.
So I'm thinking, uh-oh. But what have I learned? Never underestimate the players. And you guys basically kick ass through this dungeon. This is a giant, giant map, if you can't. Now you can finally see. So this map, you guys used all the time and didn't know it.
Yeah, we had no idea when we were in here or not in here.
The worm skeleton is in the lower left corner.
Okay.
And then that little circle, that like dashed circle, is where the worm staircase is.
Mm.
So you guys came out there. You did the whirly orb thing with the swords. You went north, fought the harpies. And at this point, I'm just panicking. I'm like, what are they gonna do? What's going on? I don't know how to. I've lost control. I've put everything together, and I'm hoping for the best now. I don't know what's gonna happen. You went northeast to the mushrooms, which it's all covered in fire now because I updated it with the fire cult.
Hmm.
Then you went east to where literally where the plunging torrents is, which is the water node dungeon. I'm like, I'm just not even gonna tell them that that's in existence. You guys went south following the river, and then you went into the lizard den, which I had to very specifically be like, they're willing to talk. Like I'd have like a guy come out and like start immediately talking because I knew like you guys just come in there and shock and awe. And this was a neat opportunity because they basically, and this is when I think I had like a session to prepare for this, because at this point I could see you guys where you were. I was like, all right, now I'm going to give them the quest to go after the water prophet and at least get them onto a track that I can do, and they would help you. And fun fact for later, why you see a bunch of fire guys here, is that if you guys had gone out of I was planning on, if you guys were resting here, I was going to do that fire elemental encounter here. Like, you guys would try to go back to your usual resting spot, because you use this place several times at the end of the game. Which is why in that one session, I think you guys saw me moving fire guys around. Like, that was because that's because you guys didn't go back here to rest. You went back up to the Sighing Valley to rest. So I was like, shit, I need to put these guys in a different spot now.
Wow.
I was doing that on the fly. So from here, you guys went to the water temple. And at this point, I'm like, well, okay. We technically did the air temple, but we skipped the actual boss. I don't think I can... Oh, damn it, I can't move you guys far enough. Hang on. You're going to be flipped over somewhere else. Where is the water temple? Temple... Oh, there it is. Shit, that's right. I put it back with the... Hold, please. Shuffling you around. My scroll bar is literally too big. I can't pick up and move. Okay, there's the water. Alright. So, this time, go to the upper left corner, and that's where you guys come in.
This was a big one.
Yes. You guys came up the stairs in the upper left corner. So,
okay.
I knew you had been in this dungeon before. You guys probably did not realize, because you were in the opposite damn end of it. What's interesting about this entrance, however, is since you came up through the Fane, which is the lower part, you ended up basically right near the boss.
Ah.
So you guys had one encounter... Or no! First! This was amazing! So, everybody's looking here, right?
Yeah.
So, had you guys gone through the north door, you would have basically immediately be at the boss, almost. Like, that temple's right there. Instead, you went down the south door and actually just jumped into the water and swam towards the Godzilla monster. I was freaking out. I was like, holy shit!
That's right, yeah.
You literally
chose the wrong door.
You just chose the wrong door. You're like, well, clearly we have to jump in this river and then swim near this beautiful starry sky in this giant underwater chamber. I'm like, oh my god.
How are we to know? Yeah,
and this guy was supposed to pop up only if the gong is jacked with, but you literally swam over right on top of where he is. And we're like, we're gonna start jack with all these like shiny things. I'm like, oh god, I have to unleash this dragon turtle on them now. And this is the one where I used the cool Godzilla sound effects and really made it, because I was like, I have to explain, and obviously it's a huge token, but I was like, I have to explain that this thing is not to be fucked with.
You gotta get out of there.
I can't believe you guys just went right to it. I was like, holy crap. And then at one point, some of you were like going down this channel and like splitting up, and so like
I don't think we were all making our swim checks, I think is what was happening.
Yeah, you were just like getting, and I was like, oh god, they're all getting separated, they're gonna die so bad. Yeah, I think there was literally one whole session, which was just you guys running the fuck away from this dragon. Dragon turtle.
What is this challenge rating?
That's a good question. I actually do have a character sheet, since I did unleash a few attacks with it.
Yeah, you did. It downed.
I believe I killed the first Tim, the first zombie.
Yeah.
It is a challenge rating 17.
Oh.
So it is designed for a level 17 party.
Wow. Okay. So we were never able to fight that thing.
It has a plus 13 to hit. It has 3 attacks. And its Steam Breath attack is a 15d6 with a save of 18.
Oh my god.
Which I believe I did on you guys at one point.
You did. You did.
I think it
It came down a hallway.
Yes, yeah. So that was actually, so first you guys got the fuck out and went back to where you came from, and and it was like one of those epic moments where I just had like the dragon like breathe like right when you slammed the door and all that, because I was like, unless they play this extremely stupidly or brazenly, I'm gonna let them get away with pissing this thing off and slamming the door shut, because there's just no other way. Then you guys took the north door, and I inserted a little puzzle here, which you hilariously just roped your way over. A little floor puzzle. This was the infamous...
What was the solution to that puzzle? I don't even remember. What was it?
I spelled out the 4 elements in like a little crossword puzzle, and you were supposed to step on the tiles that spell water.
I don't think we even noticed it.
I think somebody on YouTube said that comment, and they're like, "How do they not see this?" And I'm like, I don't know. It ended up falling super flat and being hilariously like, "I grab a rope and swing across." I'm like, "Yep." That's
fuck this puzzle.
In a video game, you would not be able to do that, but in D&D,
Right.
probably, yeah.
Well, it's also. I think it's also. Oh well. Let's see. The 20 feet. Someone's been able to just jump over it.
That's true too. Yeah, obviously, I didn't think about those kind of rules. The next scene was the infamous Kethra suicide poison. The feeding everybody the. It's a potion of heroism. Just
what I called it.
throwing chairs around and just basically bullying 3 young cultists into drinking this vial of poison, which I believe you'd gotten from that Red Larch fight, because they tried to poison you at one point in the bar, and that's where you actually got the poison, which Kethra had a lot of mileage out of. That's probably still the hardest I've ever laughed doing this campaign.
And so, I don't remember what the situation was, but somehow Kethra ended up alone in the room. None of us
She was
were in
disguised,
Guys.
there. Okay.
and as soon as the door opened, she like
shut the door.
yes, she rushed inside, shut the door, said, "Oh God, they're out there. We have to get ready for a fight," and then like passed out this like vial of poison to everybody. And
Yep.
I think you didn't quite pass your persuasion check, but then you faked like you were drinking it with like your finger
right.
over it, and
A
you
sleight
like
of
passed
hand
a sleight of
check?
hand
Yeah.
check. Yeah, I was like, all right, that's good enough. And what's funny is the poison, they had such low hit points. They're just like level 2 cultists, whatever, like 10 hit points each, and they all died from the poison, like straight up. You guys just see your bodies hitting the floor.
That was great.
Blood was seeping out from under the door.
That's right.
They're essentially supposed to be the reinforcements for the boss room, but again, because you guys came in basically the back way, you defeated those guys and then came in and took on the boss, which ended up being a ridiculously easy fight because this was the first time we saw polymorph. Here I was grabbing Kethra with my claw arm at the climax of the fight, and all of a sudden it's a giant aped. Just destruction.
Attack.
Yep.
Ape attack.
The first scene of the ape. I had the lizard guys come in and help you guys, which made the fight even more trivial. But of course, they were going to betray you in the end, which then made it difficult. You guys still kicked their ass, and then I believe actually converted some of the lizard folks to your side, which you would actually later find. Later in the adventure, you would pick up those lizard guys and then go to the water node with them. So I do try to
My minions.
bring those guys. I do try to do those follow-ups when I
Yeah.
can. I have a long list of like bullet point notes, and I'm like, here's what happened to this named person, where they are, and where I can use them again. And not
Yeah.
everybody I got to use, but most of them I tried to at least follow up with one more time.
Oh, my minions.
So this was a weird dungeon because you guys came in the back way and killed the boss, and then went through reverse.
And didn't we have a tough time, like in the area right outside the dungeon?
Yes,
Or
because
the boss?
everybody was there. You guys, there's a right here. You can actually see the body of Tim the Zombie 2.0.
Right.
There is a glyph right on that bridge, and you guys tripped it, and it set off an explosion that killed that Tim. Previous Tim, I believe, died to the dragon turtle when you first met him. So, and that activated basically everybody in this room right to the south. And yeah, there is a shit ton. I turned on 3 different rooms. Because I'm like, there's no way they should be able to defeat the boss and get away with this shit, and then waltz down and go room to room. Like, especially with setting up, and it was
angry at us.
it was one of those thunder waves. So it was like audible to 300 feet kind of
Yeah.
deals. I was like, oh shit, that's gonna wake everybody up. even so, you guys were doing a pretty good job in here. It was a big fight, but they were not hard guys. You know, the cultists were literally those basically bandits. Lizard folk are not that hard. It's just kind of having a bunch, and Talus is especially adept at shutting down hordes of guys. But then I had the Godzilla sound start up again, and I had the dragon turtle come in.
I don't remember what the situation was, but I remember he came up down like through this tunnel, the top tunnel.
Yes, and then he actually breathed his steam down at you guys, and I think caught some of you.
It downed.
I think so.
Yeah.
You guys had to.
That was the first
Because
situation.
Eric doesn't understand physics.
You guys had to run into the southeast room down here and basically rest up and avoid it because I did basically not have it pursue anybody on land.
And we two of us carried the other two.
Yeah.
The dragon turtle was terrified at that point.
Yeah, I thought that was a neat thing to have this like essentially wandering, super powerful monster.
Yeah, we got to avoid.
You just had to avoid. The second half of this dungeon, you guys actually bypassed, if you recall. You used a combination of like stealth and spells. I think Kethra was disguised and actually talked to the sea hag, who had like ogres and trolls.
Where is she at? I remember her, but oh, that's her right there. Okay.
I think only Kethra actually talked to her.
Yeah. I don't think the rest of us sleeping.
And you guys used a combination of different things to basically just get the hell out. You went south in this area, ended up here, and basically just kept getting out of here. And I let you guys just get out of here without fighting any of these things. And especially if you had activated all of them at once, that would have been a really tough fight, particularly because I don't think I let you guys long rest after the other fights, so because you were right next to hostile creatures.
Yeah, I remember not fighting any of these trolls.
Yeah. I guess you did fight your way down here, though, didn't you? Because you got the water tanks. The water weird tanks.
I think we just snuck into this room. I don't think we actually fought.
Well,
until we got
you
into
opened one of the...
room.
Yeah, you did somehow... Yeah, that's right. A fight did get activated at some point.
Yeah.
And these weren't too bad. Just a bunch of cultists and the one inventor guy. But the water weird tanks I thought were really cool, and then I think we used them once and never again. And
I'm not sure why either. They were a neat idea, certainly.
It seemed like a neat idea, but I guess in practice it was like limiting because I think the problem is Talus was the main one that was going to use it, but he was never in melee range, and the thing was literally tied, like it couldn't leave its tank.
And it required attunement too, which
it did.
We all had stuff at that point that we didn't want to lose.
That's a very interesting way they balanced that, I find.
Mm-hmm.
As much stuff as you can get, you have to really choose what you want. And yeah, unfortunately, you guys ended up getting some cool toys and never really used some of them. And that was kind of one of them where it was like one of those where I first read about in the book. I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever read about. They get this fucking water weird they can walk around with. That's amazing. And then just ended up not really being anything. So you guys were in this dungeon for a while. So you recall you went in the air temple, cleared the entire temple out minus the pyramid, went through almost half of the Fane of the Eye, which again is a 10th level dungeon, and then came up to the water temple and did basically 3/4 of it. That is a huge excursion.
Yeah.
After that, you got the fuck out of there, went back to Red Larch.
Oh, we went down. I can see where our tokens are. Well, in the bottom left.
Yeah, so this path leads back to the air temple.
Oh, it does? Okay.
So you guys are able to go back there and just go back to the air temple, which was completely cleared out. So had you taken these boats and gone east, you would have met the path where you came in originally, which was this, the lower right corner, which was the path that's back to Rivergard Keep. At one point early on, at some point, Kethra stepped over here and acted like she was going to explore down here, and I was like, oh man.
What are those?
There's about 12 aquatic ghouls, like, just chilling down here, and it's what you would call a bullshit room. There's no treasure, just a whole bunch of bad things. And she was, like, literally, like, 2 steps from going down there at one point, and then you guys were like, we're getting out of here, and she turned around and walked out. I was like, oh, man.
Was that maybe earlier on?
I think it was earlier on, because I think she was fighting the shark and then like got off on land here.
Yeah,
and then
out there in
and
the
then you
water.
guys were like, just like, should we explore this place first? And I was like, this is gonna get nasty. So at this point, you guys had been in there a while.
We never did deal with any of that.
No.
Okay.
And you also, I don't think, ever went to the northeast corner, which was basically the east side of this map.
No, I don't recognize any of this.
There's really not much here. The only thing is there's two Nothics guarding. Yeah, and I forget. I think that might go to the earth. It's either earth or fire. Up that way, so there's not much out. You guys basically did most of this dungeon, but you did also talk your way out of the hard creature guys.
Yeah.
So after this, we went to Red Larch, and then I unleashed some side quests on you. I had a bunch lined up because you guys were down here for so long. The first thing we did was we went to Westbridge because they were under the influence of Earth cultists, had just moved in, and like kind of bullied the town, has moved into like an inn and taken it over. And this was the scene where you had to like talk to people and like essentially turn them away from the Earth cult, and then end up killing a few of them in the middle of everyone.
In a fairly brutal manner.
In a fairly brutal manner. And then while you're trying to dissuade everyone, Talus resurrects one of them as a zombie.
I remember it as Kaladar as giving a pretty fucking rousing speech.
Oh, it was rousing.
Getting the whole community behind them as heroes. Meanwhile, right behind them, Talus is fucking rich as a zombie.
Yeah. I'm still mad about your executions.
Yeah. This was payback.
That was an amazing moment. That to me was the epitome of the like you guys having philosophical differences with this also. Like you
I'll show
murdering
you
people.
murdering all those people.
Yeah.
Ruin your speech. That'll make us even.
And this was Kethra also going Southern Gentleman.
This was the introduction to that, yes.
Yep.
Trying to sell them something.
The poison got used again, I believe, on the outside hobgoblins.
That's true.
Right. Yeah.
This was a weird one because you guys actually tried to approach this one tactically, and I did not have any real setup for that because literally the event just says like, oh, I think they're chilling in an inn or something. And I just like used the same inn map that I used the Hellhounds for and just put everybody in there. And then you were like, I want to jump to the roof, and I was like, oh fuck, I don't have any of that plan at all. So
I wanted to come in like through the back. Where
yeah, you like jumped up and went
So
down
it
like
was
the
like that
kitchen.
over-
Yeah.
None of that existed.
Yeah, so I try to do my best to like work around that. And this, at one point, was a pretty tough fight because the hill giant hits like a fucking truck.
Yeah.
But you guys were
Did
also,
get used.
yeah, you guys were well rested. So I've also learned there's a big difference between fighting these side quests where you can unleash everything more often than going through the dungeons and having to like watch your resources and things. Because a fight like this, you guys could just fucking throw everything at them, and that made it a lot easier. But I think it's still enjoyable to be able to do that too. So this was just a minor. I guess you use the water weird tank here. Actually had the dude on the map. So we saved Westbridge from their little cult takeover. And then we went to what was that one? I need to go back to the map. God, my scroll bar of maps is insane right now. 'Cause I was archiving those maps as I was done with them, and now I just brought them all back so we can look at them. Okay, that's right. So we went to Westbridge. I believe I gave you the location of the Temple of Tyr, which was the Renegade Summit Hall guys, as well as the House of Reeds. Now, the Westbridge is the Council of Despair was an event that was also supposed to trigger after a certain amount of time. It's like once they defeat like the first prophet or something. Or, you know, it's one of those where there are a bunch of, they call them cult reprisals in the book, and that was one of them that was set up. Basically, anytime you guys fought an actual elemental cult, like in a town or a force or something, that was obviously set up in the book. The Temple of Tyr and the House of Reeds completely added by me. Both of them not originally. I found them somewhere else.
Okay.
But I had skipped a lot of the early game side quests. There's one where you guys go defend orcs in the east farmlands. There's one where you guys escort a caravan from one location to another. There's one where you guys investigate a murder at an inn. And all of those were designed for like level 2, 3, and 4. So they were all low level, and like I said, you guys already started up pretty high. And a lot of them I was just reading like, this is not gonna work.
Yeah.
I couldn't see them working very well, and the orc one especially just seemed like a nightmare. It was like you're supposed to do all this, like literally defending against this army, and I was like, I don't even want to jack with that. And it's supposed to be like a level 4 thing, and you guys at this point were like level 7. I was like, instead of that, I'm just gonna add these other ones that I like a lot better, and especially with the Temple of Tyr, I can obviously throw that in there as being very story relevant. And the House of Reeds just sounded really cool. As a neat, kind of scary thing to investigate, and could possibly be tied into the like elemental earth or something, so it wasn't like completely out of place. But so I put that one in the Black Maw Bog. That was the weird one where I had the reeds like crawling all the way to the town, and you guys had to follow that one in there. That had the giant eye stalk like chimney thing, and so what did you guys think about this whole thing?
I liked it. It was cool. There were a few unanswered questions I think I had.
Yeah.
We discussed this at the time, but there was no actual chimney in the house. I was confused. I was confused about where the eye stalk went, because I thought we were going to find like the root of it somewhere, and that was going to be the thing.
Yeah.
But there didn't seem to go anywhere.
This was one
that's... the eye stalk? Was that like the hags down there?
Yes. It was like a telescope they were using, essentially. They could
they
could wield the reeds around to use them.
Gotcha.
And yeah, this one just had the hags at the bottom, which ended up being pretty powerful, but you guys still kind of kicked their ass. And again, you guys
like blood draining.
Yeah, they did. And this is one of those situations where you guys again were pretty fully rested, so it was.
I will say I wasn't a fan of these creatures, these eels.
Oh yeah.
They just had. They weren't that strong. They just had too many fucking hit points. Remember that battle went on for a long time.
It did, and
hitting them.
I noticed that
like that battle just got god awful.
Creatures from those are from the Tomb of Beasts, which is from Kobold Press, and I noticed they add a lot of hit points to a lot of their creatures.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was purposely done because they wanted those longer battles. But for us, I definitely noticed that those. That lasted way too long.
I never really felt like any battle other than this one. None of them felt like slogs, but this battle felt like.
And there wasn't anything like tactically nobody could do either. It was just kind of
they had surrounded us and we were just hacking at them.
Yeah.
But the hag battle was much more interesting.
Yeah, at least they had things they could do. With the aura, fun fact: had you guys not destroyed the thing they were doing it, you can actually gain that as a magic item. That essentially lets you. Well, I mean, it's kind of an evil item.
We had enough of those.
Ethically, it could have been questionable, but it does let you create those little briar creatures that were attacking you guys. But I think it might cost like some blood or something. I don't know, or your soul. There's always a price. Why don't we take a break right now? We're about halfway through our recap, and we will pick back up with the second half of our adventure. I think we're literally on session 34 out of our 57 session. Yeah.
Blazing through it. It's easy when you just sort of summarize it.
That's what we're going for. All right, break time.
There we go.
That kind of thing.
For what kind of thing?
Seeing hallucinations.
Things that aren't there. Yeah. Empty chairs where men are actually sitting.
All right, back in action. So, what we're looking at now is my my only attempt where I had to completely build a map from scratch.
Oh.
Which was the Tier Temple, which there was a like DM like one of those like mini dungeon supplement guides on the DM's Guild called Nerzagal's DM Toolkit, I believe, which had just a bunch of little encounters and mini dungeons in there, and one of them I read through was about a tier guy that wanted to essentially power up this golem within this dungeon, and it started off with everybody getting like captured and thrown in this thing, and I was like, I kind of want to use this.
That sounds fun.
Yep. So I did that to you guys. You went into the forest and essentially had like one encounter with some owlbears, and then I threw you at this temple.
Which we didn't even kill the owlbears, did we?
I don't remember.
I seem to remember coming across an owlbear cave and just not going in.
No, this was a forest clearing where you like found one like eating a deer or something.
I don't remember that.
Oh, well, let me find that map then.
I just don't.
I wasn't gonna pull that map out, but now you're gonna force me. Crypt Garden Forests.
I have to remember everything.
Oh Lord! So much of this video is just me shuffling around the maps. This one.
Oh, okay. I guess we did fight them because they're dead.
Yep.
I don't remember the situation, but yeah.
Just the one encounter. So yeah, you guys got captured briefly, fought off the I think it was an animated armor in there. No, that's the Shield Guardian. This is where we got Talus's use of the Arcane Eye to explore a lot of these rooms, including scouting out the enemies at the bottom. You guys were able to defeat those guys pretty handily.
You're still
Look
in the
at-
forest, right?
Oh, my bad. I'll move you guys over.
There we go.
I had to somehow come up with that Justice magic device looking thing using just a whole bunch of
Oh,
Roll20
yeah.
assets.
Nice. Yeah, it looked good.
Thank you. This is I know how to do this. Have not had to do this. I think since Shadowrun, where I literally just built a map from scratch
Yeah.
using just Roll20 assets, and thankfully this one was a pretty small dungeon.
Right.
The end had you guys fighting I think I used the statistics for a helmed horror, and then the dungeon was designed for like 3rd or 4th level. You guys were like 8, so I added a whole bunch of bad guys at the end. I added a bunch of animated armors came to life and attacked, as well as some dancing swords, to basically scale that one up.
Okay.
And then it is possible that once he dies, it is the final key to fuel the statue in the middle, which is supposed to be this giant iron golem, which, I mean, those things are like CR 16 or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I was kind of like, at the one point, you guys always kick ass on everything, so I was like, I could unleash this and then just fucking humble pie them to death. And then have it maybe like fall apart because it wasn't, you weakened it or something. But you were all doing a pretty good job of hammering away at the pylon, so eventually I had it. Essentially, you were able to negate that final fight with the really powerful creature. After that, I believe I gave you the quest to go to the Dwarven Shrine. So I gave you a whole bunch of side quests, and you guys actually did a whole bunch of side quests, and then except one, and instead of doing that last one, you went back into the mega dungeon, and I probably hinted at this because you guys were deciding what to do, and I was like, remember, you never went in the fucking pyramid.
Yeah.
So you guys went back to the pyramid, went inside, but if The prophets are designed to move depending on the order in which you fight them. So the first prophet is always in their temple. Once you defeat the first prophet, the others all get visions and move. The next prophet you encounter is in the Fane of the Eye at the shrine, which is kind of that middle place. The last two prophets descend to their respective nodes. The penultimate prophet is just there in the node trying to summon their final apocalyptic elemental monster, but you guys catch them before they do. The final one does summon the final apocalyptic elemental monster, and that's the final battle. So it scales not according to the elements, but according to which one you actually face and defeat. So because you defeated the water guy first, you went to the air pyramid and she was not there. Instead,
Okay.
she left this like demon thing behind, and you fought that thing off.
The rock. I don't think
Yeah.
I ever used. Oh yes, I did.
On the fire giant at the end.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Yeah, he had like a +7 constitution or something. Like the hardiest
Yeah.
creature in the game.
Yep.
What I didn't realize until like the session before is that this gaping hole in the middle of the pyramid leads down like 2 dungeon levels into the air node dungeon, which I did not fully grasp until.
Say that again. I was disconnected. If you don't notice, Eric, we're all having terrible connection issues.
I can see that, yeah.
We're all just having to reconnect constantly. What were you
Yeah.
saying?
The hole here in the pyramid leads to the air node dungeon.
Oh right,
Which
yeah. The one we jumped
There's
down.
no reason you should go there, even though it makes sense, because it's like the getaway hatch for her. But unfortunately, again, like I said, the next prophet is designed to be in the Fane of the Eye, not here, so not in the air node dungeon. So unfortunately, you guys were chasing after her. You jump down there and end up in the air node temple, which is, or air node dungeon.
I don't think we were actually even chasing after her. I just think we saw a hole and wanted to jump down it.
Fair enough. That's fair.
I remember us just seeing a hole and being like,
Surely we have to go down this hole. Yeah. This is the one where you jumped down, and part of this, remember, this is where you guys got confused on like, where did this one lead? Where does this lead? So this led to that big, and this is probably the least interesting of probably all the dungeons, frankly. You jumped in here and were landed on all the bodies in the upper left corner, and fought an air elemental. Literally killed it in like seconds, I think. It was not even anything.
oh right, yeah.
It's a whole bunch of just samey looking caves with half the areas are just straight empty. It's like you hear spooky sounds. Like, well, okay. This is supposed to be like a fucking 10th level dungeon or something, 11th level. I don't know.
Yeah, it does look fairly empty.
Yeah, you guys wandered through the middle of it. Eventually, you fought the specters in the middle, and then you got to where the demon had captured different people and actually killed this demon off. It was the Aarakocra, the Drow Mage, and the 2 Air cultists.
Right.
And thankfully, you made it there, and the prisoners have been a godsend for me as a DM because it's my way of imparting information to you guys.
Yeah.
When you guys are in the middle of these giant-ass dungeons, there's not a lot I can do without just horribly breaking down that fourth wall and just giving you information. But when you guys find the prisoners, that allows me to give you that information. And a lot of times I use those opportunities every time. And that had to be just good timing where you found prisoners and they not only told you to get the hell out of there, but I think they told you where Arisi was. Like, you need to go here. So I got you the hell out of this dungeon, which is in the lower left corner. So weirdly enough, you guys did half of the elemental air node dungeon without even meaning to.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
weirded me out. And I was like, alright, well, that'll make this one very easy. And sure enough, it basically would later. But we get back on track. And make it back to the Fane. And this time you come up through the hole right above the skeleton in the lower left corner. There's that giant hole there. And you immediately recognize, okay, there's the Harpy Den. You go north, fight the air elemental Myrmidon. Go north again, and then it's the secret of the ooze, baby.
Damn ooze.
What ended up being a funny little aside in the book ended up being a hilarious moment in here as you guys slowly and hilariously almost all became oozes in one fell swoop.
There's... Which I didn't fully understand the mechanics at that point. There are only a few times during this year-long campaign where I thought, like, all right, our party is fucking done. We pushed,
wrap it up, boys.
Yeah, we pushed our luck as far as it'll go. We're all dead.
Yep.
And this like halfway through this was one of those moments where it's like, oh, okay, well, we're all gonna fucking die here because we don't know how to handle a cursed statue.
The secret of the ooze is that it works as a polymorph spell. So literally, you guys just got those extra hit points essentially, and once those were done, you would revert back.
We didn't know that at the time.
The catch being, which I think I forgot to implement, but it would carry over any damage. But I think I actually forgot to do that.
No.
But yeah, that was a hilariously trapped statue, like Rubicum's oozes.
Yep.
Which I thought would make this battle a lot more interesting, and it kind of did. This battle was fun. You guys went west, and there was Orisi.
Who was? It was me and Talus were oozes, right?
Yes.
And Tim.
Yes.
And Tim.
And Tim the ooze. To ooze.
And we spent the first half of that fight trying to make it to the fight.
Because you had like 10 feet of movement.
10 feet of
Little.
We just were so far behind.
That made the fight a lot more interesting. Yeah, they were just minus you guys. But I think Miri and Kethra basically just kicked everybody's asses in the fight.
Yeah.
Miri,
at some point, they got the genie thing.
Yes,
Yes,
I don't know
did.
which one of y'all did that, but
That
you
would be
grabbed.
me.
You got the horn.
You grabbed
So-
the horn. Yeah.
Mary just one shot at the boss in this case, right? Like this is the one. Or, is this the one?
It wasn't quite a. No, that wasn't the. That was
Yeah.
Marlowe's.
Okay.
She did knock her ass back into like the flaming oil.
That's right. Yeah.
And did like half her hit points or something in the
Yeah,
opening
okay.
battle. She actually stayed alive for a while. I think there was one other guy that stayed alive for a while. Just there was literally it was a Kethra and Miri fighting like 6 guys around
Yeah.
here for like a good chunk of it.
At some point,
what-
we got the genie thing.
What happened? Yeah, what happened with the genie? I don't even remember that.
All we asked him to do was turn us back.
Oh, that's right. That's how you
Yeah.
got turned out. Yeah.
Because we didn't understand the mechanics, so we were like, "Oh God, we're gonna be oozes forever." Turn us back. At the time, I literally thought like it's one of those curses that requires like a greater restoration spell, or one of those like you got to go to a temple type curses.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was a polymorph spell. I wouldn't have worried about letting the genie do that at that point. But
I liked it though because you guys had this straight up wish and you had this problem.
yep.
I was like, well,
We
that
needed
solves
his
it
help.
pretty elegantly without even meaning to have that. Like literally, I didn't have all that set up to where that was. I was just like, I knew that she happened to be there now, and then she had the genie horn, and that ooze statue was there.
Yeah.
At this point, I thought you guys would straight retreat and heal up because again, you guys had done like half that air node dungeon. Like the pyramid had some guys in it, and then this fight. So that's a pretty good amount of fights where, and you guys did a pretty good job of doing stuff and then going back and healing up, doing stuff, going back, and you would be able to go longer stretches as you leveled up, so you'd be able to stay on the field longer. But after this fight, for some reason, you were like, okay, we're gonna head back. You went north out of this area.
I remember. I think we were under the impression that this was like the air temple or something because she was here.
Yeah.
So we thought that like the rest of the air temple should be just a wash. We'd be
Yeah,
able to
at this
walk
point,
out.
I was horribly confused by y'all's decisions.
Yeah.
And this is when you got the trapped drow thing with the sword came out and just fucking beat you up.
Yeah.
You're like, this is awful. And then you went east and just basically stumbled on the fire temple area and fought a bunch of minotaurs. And I was like, you guys are really drained. Like, this is going to be bad news.
Your DM brain is going, stop it. Just stop.
I was worried. I was like straight up like, this is bad. And then Talus polymorphed you into a T-Rex.
Yep.
When in doubt,
Close to our problems.
again, never underestimate the players. Like, and you actually killed a lot of these minotaurs. I was like, Jesus. So you, again, unwittingly cleared another area without even meaning to.
Yep.
Almost completely cleared the path to the fire temple. But at this point, you did, I think, fully pull back. And T-Rex like literally lumbering through the caves. You pulled all the way back. And okay, I did write down. You guys were level 8 here because you leveled up to 9 afterwards. When you went back to Red Larch, and then there was another cult reprisal. I think you guys went to Belliard, and at this point you actually stopped them. That was one time you. That was the one where they were opening it, and you guys fought them. And then Calendar, you like grabbed the orb in like a football maneuver and just ran for like several miles out of town. Just took the fuck off.
And then we all just waited at the bar for him to come back.
They all had a drink while I was just running.
And eventually, like, you hear an earthquake explosion, like, in the distance.
Weren't you, like, hasted or something by that point? So you were, like, running double your movement?
Probably, yeah.
Always hasted.
So, now that we're out of the game, explain the actual mechanics of those balls to us.
So, I don't think you ever picked up on this, but all you had to do was put the ball back in the case, and it would turn it off, because... And I know I pointed this out at one point. The case is etched with the opposite element of the ball, of the globe, and that actually contains that renders the bomb inert. And then when they'd done this multiple times, they removed the ball from the box, and that essentially started the ticking time bomb.
Okay.
And
I think we vaguely caught up on most of that. I think we misunderstood like how to like if it's immediately ticking when it's out, or if they're doing something to activate it.
Yeah.
Or if you can just like throw it on the ground and break it and it activates.
Yeah. At that point, once it's been activated, it's going to go off unless it's put back in that box, basically.
Okay. So we could have just defused this bomb then.
Yep.
I didn't have to run.
It was wonderfully dramatic though. I loved it. It was fantastic. Made for a great moment. So this is one of the few ones. They had kind of attacked the town, but you were able to actually prevent this one from destruction. And the bombs didn't literally explode. If you remember, they all just kind of warped the weather in the area to an extreme degree. Like the fire would start.
Destroyed the one town.
Yeah, I mean, especially the fire one. Like that, it basically just combusts things randomly. I mean, it might as well be just being a giant bomb. I guess earthquake would be pretty bad too, because it's just horrible big earthquakes everywhere. That's gonna bring down most buildings.
What would the other two do? Just like a hurricane?
Air was like a tornado, a bunch of tornadoes, and then water was just epic flood.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, they were all basically horrible city destroying events that would happen, and I think one of them happened. Do what?
Did we even see the other two? The air and water?
The air one happened off screen. Because I had Womford be destroyed while you guys came back, and that's the first reprisals. You guys just hear about them. They're like teased in gradually. It's like you hear about it, then you like fight them with it, and then you can actually prevent them from doing it. It's like a big, and then you catch the orb on the black market, like so you get an orb. It's this nice gradual progression of like getting more and more on top of it. I think the only one I never did with, I think, was the water one, because you guys defeated the water prophet first, so
they just didn't have a chance to do it.
Yeah, and literally it's supposed to be like, if depending on the order in which you guys tackle the cults, that makes the last cults be able to do the more of the stuff, versus the ones you defeat first can't really do much because they're supposed to be crippled from the defeat.
Okay.
From here, I unleashed. So you had the Dwarven Shrine one from before, and I gave you 2 more side quests, both of them from the book. These are what do they call it? Either rooting out evil or cult retaliation, something like that. Where they are literally designed for, okay, once like these 2 prophets are defeated, then this event happens and that kind of thing. So there was which one do you do first? Haon the Punisher, the Storm Giant. You guys saw the placards like from people at Belliard, and it was literally like, if air and water have been defeated, then this guy comes down and tries to unite like the shattered groups. And I was like, that's kind of cool. And it's just basically one room dungeon, outdoor area
What was the lady doing there? Oh, that's right.
I skipped that. Yeah. Miri, when you guys defeated the water guy, you had the trident for a while, but I made that trident like super evil and bad. So Miri tried to get rid of it in Red Larch, and you guys didn't know this. I knew you needed the elemental weapons to win the game. So I can't let Miri destroy it, but I also can't. I have to like tease the fact that it's like super powerful. So she gives it to them, they bury it, and now I'm thinking I can do something really cool with this now. I can make that totally fuck over one of their friends.
Glad I can help.
Yes. And essentially, it would force her into bringing it to this other person. And I think that's when I started teasing like the Wind Vein having control over you too, when it was like forcing you to give it up and all that kind of stuff. You were having to like make like saves and things. So this ended up being just a big battle, essentially, between a weird mix of air and water forces.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, this was yet another one of the situations where we had some like vague notions of talking our way out of it, and then halfway through we were like, "Yeah, kill them all."
Yeah, it kind of broke down at one point, mainly because he was demanding the elemental weapons. Like that was non-negotiable, and you guys were not willing to give those up. Right, which, I mean, eventually, like I said, you are going to need those, so he's going to have to be defeated. This was an example of a thing they did not have a map for, and I just found one online that I could use and put a bunch of tokens on there. So
nice.
There was a lot of situations like that. After that, we did the Dwarven Shrine. No, we did Yartar, which was another event in the book where you guys get you hear about the black market deal with the the orb that you can find, and this one
pretty cool,
yeah. And so I've been trying to tie these into different characters, and Talus has been the one I've been least able to do that with. So I found I basically tied this in by having this be one big trap to try to bring Talus up to Yartar and then capture him by this red wizard lady hunter. This is one where I had a whole map set up that you guys never used because you didn't actually follow the assassin. You guys had a meeting with a thief that basically stole it and was trying to sell you the location of the orb.
Right.
This was definitely a situation that could. This was a situation that definitely could have broken down, and you guys had to end up fighting, and you didn't. You talked until she was attempted to be assassinated, and essentially your whole goal is to learn the location. You can either do that from following the assassin and beating them up and getting the location, or saving her life and getting the location from her. Initially, you were not willing to do either of those things.
Yeah.
I was very distraught. You were just going to let her die, and they're not going after the assassin. I was like, oh crap, this is coming to a standstill.
Now, I blame this, I remember you saying this at the time, I blame this on, like, video game mentality. Because it kind of played out cutscene-ish, the way she was assassinated or shot with a crossbow bolt. So I think all of us assumed she's already dead. Like,
you're just waiting for her.
You can't do anything about her being dead.
See, with D&D, it's always like the Mass Effect, like the prompt comes up and you can interrupt and be like, hey, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And I think I literally at one point, they're like, does anybody want to save her?
Like, none of us registered that as an option until you said it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys could actually stop her from dying. She's bleeding out.
So, had you followed the assassin, you would go to this map. Were you at the tavern map? Did I move you over?
We're at the camp still. The giant camp.
Okay, sorry. I forgot to move you to there's the tavern where we actually had the negotiations in the upper right corner. I had one in map and one tavern map. So this was also the same map where you guys fought the guy in Red Larch and got the vials of poison. I think I reused both of those maps twice. So had you gone outside of Yartar, of that inn, this is...
Oh, we chased him down?
Yeah. And as you can see, I didn't really do much because you guys didn't go out here, but...
Well, that would be interesting.
This would have been basically a series of checks, basically just trying to find them, like a bunch of perception and speech checks and that kind of thing. So more role playing than actual combat.
Yeah.
You got the location, you got to the cemetery, and this was another example of one that I believe I scaled up slightly, because I think you were coming to it like a level or two later. Well, I don't remember. You were 9th level. But anyway, I think I deleted some of the guys and added some new ones. Obviously, the Red Wizard was a new one, and I gave her a clockwork pet.
That's right. The dog, yeah.
I toyed with the idea of her also raising a bunch of ghouls from the cemetery.
Yeah.
But, decided against that. Yeah, and the crazy like 4-armed assassin guy who is supposed to be the same race, I believe, as the merfolk you guys fought. He's like a Sawagan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then yeah, obviously somebody was T-Rexed in this one to seal the deal.
Looks like it.
I think this was the Kethra T-Rex like biting off this woman's arms at one point.
That's right, yeah.
It was pretty awful.
Just a terrible death.
Yeah.
Asked how to kill her, so.
Yep. It sure did. So this ended up being a pretty easy encounter, but you guys ended up with the fire orb here and held on to it, I think, for the whole game.
Fun fact, Kalanart still has that orb.
Yep.
He's,
You said you would, like, you basically convinced the Harper guy that, like, you guys would take care of it, so.
Yep. He's now holding it on. By the way, he's just in more epilogue. He's holding on to it as like a nuclear arsenal in the liches. like in the compound. Like if they ever have an enemy that they can't deal with, he can.
It's a deterrent.
That's right.
Then you finally went to the. Okay, this is the one I had to. I gave you this one like a level or two ago, and you guys went here, and I was like, well, you'll be over leveled for this, but oh well. This was an interesting one because this is the Love Shrine.
Right.
That has the path to get up here. You can tell this map is kind of tricky because it's got the second levels like interposed.
Right.
This one starts off with them trying to trick you, but Talus used his arcane eye early to basically suss out the entire thing.
That's right.
So you guys.
But I think we just rolled with it too.
You did roll with it, yeah.
Like where's the wine or something?
Yep. You were rolling with it pretty good, so you were definitely not surprised with that fight. And this was another mini. A lot of these sidetracks are just kind of like small little like 2 encounter thing. What do you guys think about these? Like the.
I don't think we were finished this one, did we? Because this one was like well at the end.
Oh.
Of it, they were trying to find something.
That's true.
It wasn't here. Like, oh,
this
okay,
one's. You're correct. This one starts a thread that does go somewhere that I ended up skipping because the next step of the thread is in the Black Geode, and I'll get to that in a second. It's just one area you never went to, and I collapsed that dungeon.
Oh, right. There's no way to get back to it.
That leads to a whole nother area that's actually the one like high-level side quest, which is finding this ancient dwarven weapon. Which, by the way, if you're ever making somebody specifically for Princes of the Apocalypse, make sure somebody's a dwarf. Because there's a lot of... Obviously, the whole place takes place in this ancient dwarven stronghold. And a lot of the items and things are like dwarf only that I had to change.
Really? I didn't know that. There's a lot of dwarf stuff.
You'd have to be halfway through the book before you'd even realize it. Like, they should say up front, like, hey, one of your characters should probably be a dwarf. So yeah, you guys got you technically completed this side quest because you found out that all the people in here were murdered.
Yeah.
But it did lead to another area that we never went to.
Okay.
So I basically canceled it. So after this was a giant string of side quests.
This was my least favorite of all of them, but I think that's because I feel like this one didn't end.
Yeah.
I liked what were the other ones?
Haon the Punisher, which was the Storm Giant, and then the Yartar.
Those are both cool.
Dark Dealings in Yartar. So the total side quest I used from this adventure, the Yartar one, this one, and Nettlebee Ranch, in terms of the full side quests, and then the others were like mini events that happened, which was the inn at the Bellyard.
Yeah.
the Storm Giant one. Those were technically not side treks. Those are just like cult reprisals. I skipped, like I said, the caravan one, the orc one, the inn murder mystery. At one point, you guys go to a haunted manor and you talk to a shadow dragon.
Okay.
And that's it. You just talk to her.
Oh, really?
And you don't. I didn't run it because it seemed really weird. It was like literally they can just learn any of the information they haven't learned yet from this person, and hopefully they don't piss them off because that shadow dragon's gonna kill them.
I have noticed that D&D likes those sort of quests where at the end of the quest you just find a dude that you talk to.
Yeah.
And he can tell you some things. It's like,
Yeah.
this is fucking dumb.
You need information.
Yeah.
And then the final one I skipped is called Halls of the Hunting Axe, and that is the one that I started here thinking we would do that one, and then canceled it because we didn't end up doing that one.
We just didn't go there, yeah.
Yeah, so after this, we went into back to the mega dungeon, and never came out again, basically.
Really?
Yep. On session 40... Well, okay, I take it back. After this, we went to Summit Hall and stole the bones.
Oh, yeah.
You guys actually went to Summit Hall for the first time, talked to all those guys, which I did not have planned for a battle map or anything. It was just a discussion. And that was totally theater of the mind, where like Kethra is stealing, going down, and I just didn't have any of that as actual physical space.
Oh, yeah.
You went back to the monastery, turned in the bones, and that's how you ended up going down in the Earth Temple for the first time, because you knew you had to get back down there, and then and you were there at the time, so you went here. Now this was weird because.
But to step back just a little bit.
Yeah.
Kudos to Kethra on that one, because I don't think any of us had any plans other than go in there and just argue for the bones. I think Kalinar's idea was just like, I'm just going to berate them into giving me them.
Yeah.
And Kethra actually had the presence of mind to separate and
to
go
grab
steal
them.
Because I don't know if we had all gone into that room to argue with the lady. I don't know what if we would have actually gotten them or not.
Yeah, it would have been really hard, and I don't think we were quite winning the speech checks on that one.
No, I don't think we were. She was not on board, if I remember correctly.
So this was a weird case, because at this point, I know, and I think you guys have the main quest to, ever since you rescued Miri's mom, to go to the Earth Node dungeons, which are the bottomest location, and seal them up. Like, I think you finally got like the main quest and knew what you had to do.
Yeah.
But those are like 3 dungeons down, and this whole thing is backtracking. So on the one hand, it was cool that you guys went a different direction to go down this time. On the other hand, I think we all knew your goal is just to get to the next dungeon, and you guys didn't know this layout at all. So you ended up taking this giant J path to like, or this like, and I was like, okay. You went in the main entrance, which is here, and just knocked down the door. This is when you walked up and were like, "Hi guys," and just activated this whole room.
Oh, right.
And just fought a giant ass fight. This was a big ass fight, from what I remember. I think I activated like 3 or 4 rooms. You fought the Mud Sorcerer. You kept going straight south from here. Went over the chasm. Fought the Boulets right there.
Right.
Which I really like the situation. Yes, yeah, disguised. I like the situations where there is like environmental hazards in the way that make things more difficult. You guys defeated that Etten in like 2 seconds. That was the dumbest thing. That 2-headed guy. He's in his own room, and he's this big guy, and you guys just... I think... I didn't even get a turn with him. Just murdered him.
I don't remember fighting him, so probably.
This is another case of you guys being over-leveled for the area, because... And again, it's just kind of... You didn't end up going down here originally, and now you're just going through as a stopgap. You did go into the Forge, and I remember specifically we ended a session here, and I started the next week session as just giving you guys a map of this place and the next place. I'm like,
right.
I'm feeling like, okay, I need a chance. What I should have done is had you guys go down here, because I had prisoners down here, and I could have used them to give you information.
Who are those folks?
I have honestly forgotten. I think one of them is one of the captured people you never found.
Oh.
Yeah, I have to check the book. Every area's got
Distinct
prisoners.
places.
Yep. Yeah, I made unique tokens for everybody. Yeah, in hindsight, I should have used the prisoner thing again, but instead I just had you guys find a map. Basically, because I was like, I just need to get them out of this dungeon into the next area, because there's diminishing returns in this dungeon. That Boule encounter being probably the most interesting one of the dungeon. There is one
full of troll or whatever ogres.
Yeah, just guarding that area. The other interesting place, I guess, is this one where there's a earth priest sacrificing a deep gnome to a black ooze. It's really creepy. She summons this thing forth, and it comes up and just slithers over and just acids this thing to death while you guys have to try to save her and stuff. But never end up going there.
Wow. Yeah. We're above that. There's like a rock golem.
Yes, that is the one you guys learned the passphrase from the Mud Sorcerer.
Oh, okay. Oh, we
and
never used it?
Yeah, it leads to the Fire Temple.
Okay. What's this room with the statues?
Room with the statues.
Right to the right of...
Oh, that is where the Medusa boss is, if he's the first one you fight.
Oh, okay.
Because, again, it's weird because all the prophets leave after you fight the first one. So, like, all the boss rooms are empty.
Yeah.
So...
We skipped a lot of this then.
You did skip a lot of this one. You guys went just a haphazard direction, and then I gave you the map to get out of here, and you got out of here. So
okay.
You guys skipped about a third to a half of this dungeon.
Yeah.
With these stairs, you went back to the Fane of the Eye, which is those drow caves that you kept going back to that connects everything. This time in the upper right corner. And then fought the giants playing tic-tac-toe.
Yes.
And I was surprised you immediately went down to the Black Geode next. As the first real elemental node excursion, although I guess you already did the air one. Because again, I'm thinking, oh, the earth one is the second to last one, so it's going to be one of the more difficult ones. And I think you guys were... So you guys were over-leveled for an area, and now you just went into one that you're under-leveled for. So I'm like, God damn it. It's just never working out level-wise. It ended up not mattering. You guys kicked ass everywhere.
Doing fine, yeah.
Yeah.
We ended up doing just fine.
I did give you guys way extra health potions, too, and all that, so... Earth Dungeon, as you'll see in a second, you did almost all of this one in... how much was it? 2 sessions? How do we do it in 2 sessions? I think you... Okay, that's right. You guys came back to this. Okay. You went in here and got really far and then turned around and left. And you guys took a crazy path. As you actually fought the Roper. Then you went to the Crystal Forest. Then you went... Oh, then you went left out of the Crystal Forest, that's right, and came across that hook horror chasm in the bottom end first, which was...
Right.
Awful, because it's such a cool moment to cross the bridge and then fall off the bridge, presumably, and then have to fight these horrible creatures.
Instead we just fought all the horrible creatures.
Instead you just fought all the horrible creatures, yeah.
Head fight.
Which was a pretty big fight, those are a lot of dudes.
Yeah.
After that,
that
Talus...
was one where I don't think we thought that was that big of a fight, and they just kept coming.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
It was like 2 at first, and then like there was 4, and then there was more.
Talus used Arcane Eye here to scout out like the next half of the dungeon.
Yeah, so what did you see with this? I wouldn't clear where you actually went with the eye, because of course we can't see anything that you're seeing.
So I think we started here, and he went east and saw the pool with the earth elemental.
which we never went over there, huh?
Never went over there, and then turned the corner and went up here and saw the forge with the dudes and the Nothics and the dwarf.
Okay.
And I believe the eye went as far as seeing the actual final node.
Oh.
Yes.
Like, you were... There's no doors here. You were able to just fucking see everything.
Just walk all the way through.
Yeah, and you guys played it pretty well. You guys saw the secret path here. You short rested, and I rolled on a table that literally all these final node dungeons say every 30 minutes roll for this to see what happens. And to me, that basically just means if they short rest, then you get to roll twice on this thing. I rolled the Umber Hulk, so that's why I had the Umber Hulk come at you guys. I did let you get the short rest off, but I had the Umber Hulk come at you, bros.
Oh, right, yeah.
And you guys ran from it into the forge, fought that fight, and then the Umber Hulk came up behind you guys and made that a much more interesting fight.
Yeah. We thought we had to choose, like, escape the Umber Hulk and fight this fight, or fight the Umber Hulk.
Like, oh wait, they're only like 30 feet away. It's still coming after you. You did rescue the guy, and then at that point you guys were pretty drained, so you actually turned around and left, which was probably the right call, though looking at the map you can see I was like, man, you guys are so close to that like end node, holy crap.
Yeah.
What's weird to me is that you guys left, long rested in that lizard den, and then decided to go to a different node dungeon.
I think because we had no idea we were so close to the end. Like,
oh, my mind was just like, oh my god. This is like the pyramid all over again. I'm just like, God. You can see how frustrating this was on my end. Like,
when you can see the map, sure, but
yeah, exactly. I was just staring at the maps the whole time, like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, and then you guys went into that. Now this should be an interesting one because you got the water one is the one you did hardly any of.
We floated in bubbles.
That's right.
Yes, you guys.
Kalinar became a crocodile, and
yeah,
right.
You started basically in the top middle, and the orb is set to take a path to the east. And yeah, Kalinar jumped in the orb. You guys followed him, and basically did all the stuff on the east side, kind of haphazardly. And we were splitting the party, and this was also making me very nervous about not only balancing it, but also trying to do the back and forth, like make sure everybody's doing something every once in a while.
Yeah.
And trying to balance the time. Hopefully that worked out okay.
So I never actually saw this place. Is this the place you guys were talking about, where you guys swam in and then swam out?
Which one are you looking at?
here.
The ghouls.
Oh, yeah. No, that's the one where they opened the prison and it was a bunch of like water cultists
there, right?
drowning themselves.
Remember somebody talking about like they were invisible and they were standing there and they didn't.
That was this one, which was.
Oh, okay.
Talus and Kethra both went in there. Talus had invisibility and Kethra with stealth.
So this map is weird for me because I didn't see half of what you guys did.
You saw even less of it. All of you only saw like a third of it, but you saw even less of that because you just stuck to the main path. This was basically a bullshit room. I don't think there's any treasure in here. There's a whole bunch of ghouls, and it's basically where all the water guys just throw bodies.
Oh, okay. What is that in the middle of the ghouls? Like a different looking ghoul.
It's a ghast.
Ah.
Which is a stronger ghoul, essentially.
Okay.
So yeah, you guys just... I had the octopus kind of fuck with you guys a little bit, but not much, because it's a beast and it's not bloodthirsty. You guys killed the ice guys. The weird ice guy on the throne, just chilling with his ice demons. That was a weird encounter. I don't know.
The ice guy just sits there on his throne.
He sits there and waits for people to float past him. Yeah.
Shakes his fist at him. Damn.
Yeah. They're basically three paths. The whole thing is set up where it's like three rivers going down to the node, and you guys took the east one, which is probably the most boring, but the bubble is designed to follow that path, so like, all right. It's the most controlled by the cultists, which makes it a little more mundane to me, because you guys have been fighting these cultists the whole time. You also came down with the lizard folk. You met the lizard folk again in that lizard den. 2 of them that survived the water temple fight, and those guys actually accompanied you into this dungeon, and both died before making it to the node, but they were semi-useful.
My minions.
So, if you guys make it to a node and a prophet is already defeated, then other creatures pick up the mantle as the boss fights. And this one probably has the most interesting of them all, which is an aboleth that is normally encountered in the middle left section of the map, worshipped by the Kuatoa, which you guys never went to that side. And instead, he's here with 2 chuls, which are the big lobster guys, and I had a lot of fun with this thing, as it is as monstrous as you can get. Just a big fucking, like, elder, almost like elder god.
Yeah, it was a psychic
sea monster. Yeah, the psychic thing.
Yeah. Who got actually, like, charmed by the psychic stuff? Somebody was out of the fight for a good shot.
So I had an initial role-playing moment where you guys all, like, got your dreams come true, and he was trying to, like, seduce you.
Yeah.
And I had all of you roll a save to get out of it, and Talus failed that save repeatedly, like knocked out of several rounds from it.
Okay.
Or no, he was stunned from it, I think, and couldn't get the save out of the stun. So.
Oh, this is also the point where the whisper thing for me never worked, so I didn't know you were doing this like dream sequence thing.
Yeah.
That's why I was just going around just smacking all of y'all like, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah. Also, I should have. In the well, I guess it won't matter now, but I should have redone the suffocation rules, because I should have had the countdown start as soon as the chuls pulled you guys, because the suffocation didn't end up working at all. Like you can
hold your breath for like 3 minutes or something in the game.
But what I would change, and I've been reading up on this, is that applies if you're doing something that you do, like if you're doing a check, like I want to jump in water. If something else is doing something to you, like you being dragged underwater, then you could rule that you don't have a chance to take those deep breaths. So you're already at the countdown of rounds. So like you can only last like this many rounds before you just drop to 0 hit points.
Okay.
That's what I should have done to make this fight more interesting, because that's what I want to do is have these guys pull you underwater, and all it ended up doing is you just fight underwater. Like it didn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
So in the future I would have changed those suffocation rules and made them much more dire and been like, no, you need to escape and not be underwater right now.
Yeah, because I remember that being sort of like, oh, okay, no big deal then. Because
Yeah.
it was like when we went and looked at the rules, and it was like,
Yeah.
you can hold your breath for whatever your bonus is, that number of minutes.
In fact,
Like,
I think I
alright,
literally,
so-
I added that to the house rules and never went over it because we never came up again. But I think I actually put a new ruling on suffocation on there.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, if PC has time and is not under duress when performing a task, normal suffocating rules apply. You can hold your breath for a number of minutes equal to 1 plus your con modifier. However, if you're under duress, such as the middle of combat, or if something happened to you, such as a saving throw, then you are considered out of breath and choking. At that point, you can survive a number of rounds equal to your con modifier, at minimum 1 round.
Ah, okay.
So some of you would be lasting for like 1 to 4 rounds underwater.
Right.
At the start of your turn, after your rounds are up, you drop to 0 hit points and can't be stabilized or regain hit points till you can breathe again. That would have made it a little more interesting.
That would have, yes.
So a little easier than I thought. And then you guys got an easy way out of here. So this whole water node dungeon you had never been in before, but ended up being easy because of the way that there's just multiple paths to the final dungeon.
Yeah, you don't have to
The middle path, you guys floated up the middle path, if you recall.
Yeah.
And you came really close to jumping out and exploring these shipwrecks, which there's some really good treasure here. There's also a giant hydra that rises up out of water. And I was so prepared to do that, and it sounded so cool, but you guys never stopped out.
Yeah.
There's some good-ass treasure. There's like +2 swords and shit in there.
Oh, really? Man.
Yep. And then the left side had all the monster stuff, like giant crabs, this whole tribe of fish guys that actually worship the aboleth. There's a roper in the water over here. Also in that hydra battle, you can see the giant whirlpools to the sides. The whole time they like pull you into these channels and pull you into these whirlpools if you fail a save, and just drop you into a random area in the dungeon.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So the dungeon has a lot of cool shit happening that we kind of just skipped a bunch of.
Right. But it sounds like you have to like actively make your way to those spots, though.
You would. It's one of those that I didn't really analyze until I was building it, and I was like, oh man, the way it's built, like they can just get to it pretty easy. And sure enough, like that's what ended up happening. So we sealed the node, and I think that was our first node we sealed.
How did we end up sealing the node?
Threw the trident in it.
Threw the trident in there, yeah.
Okay.
There was a bit more role playing, as I had like
No
the old
dramatics.
Hydra like swimming around, and you guys were kind of still figuring out what to do. But I was impressed. You actually picked up on that pretty quick. And then once you figured out,
I think we were really worried about that though the first time.
yeah,
Like, putting that weapon in the portal, we were like, is this gonna do something terrible?
yeah,
Is
Take a
this
leap.
gonna like activate this creature?
take a bit of leap of faith there.
Yeah.
After this, you went back to the Fane of the Eye. I actually had some reinforcements from the Earth Cult step outside and fight you guys for a little bit. Because I figured they still had their profit, so they were still trying to keep you guys at bay, even though you cleared them out pretty well. Otherwise, you guys went back to the Earth Node dungeon and basically just ran back through it, because you'd already defeated most of it. You took a slightly different path, but I think only fought like 1 or 2 new fights, and then Talus used like some spell to just disguise everybody,
Right.
and you guys were able to bypass like the next 2 fights.
Yeah, this belay room looks familiar. We just sort of walked through it.
You fought 1 battle with cultists, which you guys got the jump on them, and then used a spell to just bypass the rest. And basically waltzed into the last fight, doing pretty well on resources. And then Mary just walked up and punched the fucking guy right through the portal.
That was pretty great.
Oh
Like,
man,
we never saw what he did. What his
I know.
powers
I
were.
never
It
really
was
used
just-
him.
It
It was
like,
one of
"Hi."
those. It was basically the
Dead.
Umber Hulk, where you guys had to choose to avert your eyes or not, and basically
Yeah.
incur disadvantage, because otherwise he could petrify you. He's literally a Medusa.
Wow, yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny. He just punched him through the portal. What I was gonna do was unleash that purple worm earlier, because that is a cult reprisal. It's one of those where if the Earth Cult is still alive, then this purple worm bursts through the ground, and you guys aren't necessarily supposed to be able to defeat this thing. You're supposed to just wound it enough to where it retreats,
Wow, okay.
because it's a pretty fucking hard one. And I think they even say like use reduced hit points, because it's fucking gigantic. And then I was gonna use, and I never had a good chance because you guys were in this mega dungeon for so long at the end, and I was gonna use him in this room before you guys got here to like drain your resources and freak you guys out, but you guys were disguised and made it through there. So my final act was to unleash it as part of the dungeon collapsing, essentially. Like I had the actual dungeon being held together with elemental earth, so its collapse caused all these rifts to appear and like the purple worm to bust out. I thought this was like the coolest moment of this dungeon, was like the actual destruction of it.
Yeah, definitely.
And you guys did the right thing and just had to get the fuck out of there, taking a lot of damage, but surviving. If you look,
Alice using the ravine just sort of run away.
yes. Oh, I remember I rolled so horribly. It's like roll 10d10 to get the depth, and I rolled like 1. It was like 10 feet deep. I was like, God damn it.
I can just sort of run along the bottom.
He's like, I'm hanging off the edge, right? Yeah, okay. I drop down and run. I was like, God damn it.
We beat your system.
You did.
That's right.
If you went here, you find there's a skeleton with a crown, and you try to loot that, and these specters attack you, and this ghostly dwarf appears, and that dwarf is the partner of the other dwarf you fought in the Dwarven Love Shrine.
Oh.
He is now a murdered ghost who's now like possessed this crown that they stole from the Earth Cult, who didn't know what they had, and he would tell you, you need to return this to where we got it from to free me from the curse.
Okay.
And that would lead you to the side trek that you guys can obtain a really powerful weapon from. And when you leave it, a bunch of people come at you and basically say, you need to give us this weapon or we'll fucking kill you.
I'm gonna murder them all.
I know, there's some neat, I think you can trade something good for it, but it would have been a neat moment, but we never actually went down this path. That was like the one, and you guys almost completely cleared this dungeon, they just never went there. And at this point, it was so late in the game, and you guys were doing the main quest so well, I was like, I don't really want to pull you guys all the way out of the mega dungeon to go to this other area and just have to come back here. Like,
oh, right.
the way it, because it was
Too much
always,
backtracking.
yeah, in this one area, just constantly having to backtrack. So I was like, well, I'm just going to skip it. So that was a case where I was planning on doing something, and thankfully didn't get as far to where I even built the map. I don't have a map for that place. There's a map in the book, but I did not even put it in Roll20. After that, we went back. I'm not even going to switch. Well, I guess I can switch to the map again. We went back to the air node, and this is when Miri's wind vein took over, and she split off from the party towards the end.
Which we just didn't notice for a while.
Yep. This was a weird one again because you guys cleared half this dungeon like way earlier, so it was just a bunch of empty shit. I did have the Drow Mage come back because I thought that was a fun
Yeah, that was cool.
follow up to you guys finding the body. Otherwise, you guys, I think, explored all of this dungeon. The last bit of it was like the sword in the coffin and the black ooze in the corner.
Yeah, it feels like of all the dungeons, this is the only one that we did all of. Well, I take that back. We didn't do whatever these things are. What are those little ape-looking monsters?
So,
all right.
You guys passed through there. Let's hear for anybody looking. Those guys are supposed to be hidden, and they're supposed to pounce when you guys pass through. Because of the event that was happening with Miri running ahead of you guys and you guys running after her, I did not activate them. And I decided to never activate them, even when you guys were coming out of there, because it was just like...
Anticlimactic at that point.
Yeah, it just kind of felt weird. I don't know. I was like, why would they come at you now? Like, they know that I didn't activate them. They're just...
What are they?
Demons, like Balugras, something like that. Balguras. Okay. Fun fact, the person I replaced Miri's mom with is actually supposed to be here. Tied up. So you're not supposed to get one of the delegation members until here.
Oh, okay.
So instead I just made them generic prisoners, and even when you guys went up and like tried to free them and stuff, I was like, I was still on, like, I had token and everything set up. I was like, I could just unleash them, but I never did. So
yeah,
I never actually used them. And yeah, I think this ended up being a lot more interesting than the straightforward fight it would have been, with Miri rushing ahead and you guys having to rush after her. After you realized that she was gone and had to rush after her.
Right. So we did go. Okay, so we did go through that area. We just didn't use those guys.
Yeah, because this was the one where I like witch bolted you like 4 times with these guys and to like rush through here with the winds blowing and all that jazz. But you can see a lot of this dungeon is just emptiness too. It's a weird dungeon. Like all the stuff to the left of it is just supposed to be like winds howl through here. I'm like, okay.
Great.
This dungeon could be half the size basically.
Yeah.
So we sealed this one. So now there's one node left. You guys actually backtrack all the way up to the top and rest, which I didn't expect because I had that fiery reprisal set up in the lizard den to surprise you. So instead, I just put them at some point in the Fane to fight.
To be honest, Eric, I think at this point we were so fucking like lost with the geography of all this. It's all we were like. Being only able to see what's in front of you, like now backing up a little bit and seeing it all from a distance makes a bit more sense.
Makes more sense.
When you can only see what's right in front of you, getting your bearings is impossible.
And this one's got to be super bad because it's all so interconnected, and a lot of them look the same, and you backtrack through areas. That's got to be so disorienting. And yeah, you guys finally went to the upper... So you fought that encounter, went to the upper left corner... fought off the Minotaurs. I had another group come down the elevator, which was a funny little encounter with using suggestion in Bigby's hand to just knock them off into the hole.
That's right, yeah.
So it actually took us like 2 sessions to properly get down into the... Oh, I can show you the fire temple. I made that one, and you guys never did that one. At one point, Talos told the elevator to go up, and you went up there, and I did have this in this. This is an example of an entire dungeon I put together that you guys never did.
Wow. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here.
Here's the elevator. So you guys come up in the middle of this dungeon.
Not gonna say I'm upset that we missed all of this.
Yeah, that's a lot of just guys to kill. It's like.
Yeah.
Wow.
This was the
in the room.
fire temple.
What are those things in the top right? Ogres looking things?
Fire ogres.
Half ogres.
Half ogres, okay.
This added like 2 more sessions just fighting them all.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Oh,
fighting
at least,
dudes.
please, yeah. This was the hardest of the temples, so I think it was supposed to be like 9th level, which I think at this point you were 11th, so again, you were... I was dissuading you because at this point you were over-leveled and main plot-wise there was no reason to be here because you knew the prophets were already down below.
Right.
Oh, if you're looking at this one with the people in rooms, this is a prison.
Oh.
This is a shame. This would have been a neat moment. You can actually free the salamanders or the Azer, but if you try to free both of them, they fight each other because they're like hated rivals on their elemental plane of fire.
Okay.
So if you try to free everybody, they'll just end up in a war with each other. But if you free one of them and like help them kill the other, or just don't free the other one, then they'll actually ally with you for the rest of the dungeon.
Why would we have freed them though?
Yeah, why are they prisoners of the fire cult?
Because the fire cult enslaves them.
Oh.
The Ifriti is actually up here also if you encounter him. But since you didn't, he was down in the fire node dungeon.
Okay. Wow, this is a lot of stuff we just skipped.
Yep,
crazy.
this was a full dungeon, like the size of the temples. I didn't plan it out. All I did was obviously I did make the map for it, which is very time consuming, and put all the tokens in, but I didn't like make any story notes or anything.
Yeah.
And it just never worked out the way you guys had access to all the areas before, and like I said, the prophets do leave, so I'm not sure, unless people were really thorough about just clearing everything out, like, it seems like you would naturally just end up skipping some in general, because that's just the way it flows.
Right.
And then we went to the Fire Node dungeon, which is easily the coolest in my opinion. Like, it is just lava waterfalls and bridges, and
it's definitely the most dangerous in terms of environmental hazards.
Yes.
Like, there were a lot of fights that should not have been that hard, but we were fucking hamstrung by it.
I think several times I told you guys, like, or hopefully hinted, but I might have just said, like, probably do fire last.
Yeah.
Fire's pretty bad. This was a really neat dungeon, and yeah, the opening salvo was insane. You guys went down the elevator, had to fight all those mages throwing shit at you, and then you teleport in there and there's just a fire giant chilling there.
Yep.
You're just like, oh, balls. So, fun fact, had you guys rung the gong on this causeway over here, a roper made of lava rises up out of the middle of the lava and grabs you guys with fire tendrils and pulls you into the lava.
Why would we ever do that? What benefit is there in doing that?
Zero benefit. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Say that again?
I can also just have him rise up if he wants to. This is a roper made of lava, like with fire everything. He just pops out of the lava, and he's got those giant tendril attacks. He can catch you guys and reel you guys in, and you would be reeled into lava while he's biting you. It's just fucking awful. Kether was not here for that part, and you guys did not jack with the gong. So thankfully,
we don't mess with the gong.
Dodged a major bullet there. I also hinted pretty strongly, and I think Talos just randomly wandered up here, and I was like, "You see the hole? Don't ring that gong." So here you can see the flame skull, or not flame skull, the ring of fire that the actual prisoners were in, because I think you guys were confused about the prison situation here.
So it drops. Oh, okay. So it drops down.
It drops outside, and
outside of the ring.
you take that. It's the same rule as Well of Fire. You take that damage if you're within 10 feet.
We were confused, but in hindsight, I really enjoyed like that whole roleplay moment of us trying to figure out what the geography of the situation was
without actually being able to see it. Yeah, I did too. That ended up being a lot more interesting than I thought about. How do we actually rescue them? We don't have dispel magic to turn it off. We have to come up with something else.
Yeah.
We just kind of skipped this bridge fight because it's kind of weird. The fire snakes can't reach you. The salamanders can throw spears, but I was like, this just seems like a...
So
it's a neat idea, but...
Yeah, in terms of mechanics, like, say we were in a fight, and the whole party wanted to just run away. Like, at what point would you have the monsters just stop attacking, like stop chasing? Like in this scenario, like if there had been a fight, and we had just been like, well, fuck it, we're just gonna retreat and run back the way we came, would just the fight end after we got away?
It's a case-by-case basis. Like, with the dragon turtle, I shut that fight down immediately. Like, you guys shut the door, and that was it. Yeah. With the Umber Hulk chasing you guys in the Earth Dungeon, that did not stop it. You guys were only 30 feet away, and this was not a giant monster. You guys could easily fight that thing. So, it's a balance issue, and it's also a logic issue. Like, did you get far enough away where you can actually separate it? Does the monster really care about pursuing you, or is it more of a beast that just kind of will back off? Or is it more intelligent that it will back off for strategical reasons? So, yeah, it just kind of depends.
So
in this case, I let you guys just run through.
They don't really care about us.
Yeah, we didn't even start combat. But I did make you guys immediately have to start combat in the next room and basically keep that momentum going, which... I still let you get the surprise round off because you basically just ran across and went right into that room. And I really liked this finale. So if you had defeated Vanifer earlier and she's dead by the time you get here, then the dragon is the only thing that guards this node. So there's different.
Oh, okay.
Like if this happens and this happens, and a lot of it is basically it all comes down to the order in which you guys tackle the cults and defeat the prophets.
Wait, so if we had defeated Vanifer but done this dungeon last, does that mean we would have had to fight Imix and the dragon?
No, I find that bizarre. There's nothing that says you have to defeat a prophet last, but I thought about that. Like, I was like, well, shit. That means they could climax early.
Yeah.
Because you could defeat a prophet, fight their elemental, but then still have a profitless node to seal.
Yeah.
And you would just fight either the Aboleth or the Vrock or the dragon. What am I missing? I don't know who takes over the water. I think it's just some random demon thing that sits there. But yeah, I thought about it. I was like, damn, that would not work out well at all if you don't even fight a elemental. You would fight one at some point, but if you didn't fight
right.
which is why I definitely stressed that the fire one should be last, because I knew the prophet was going to be there. Yeah. So again, there's a lot of freedom in this one, but I feel like DMs would have to curtail a lot of that freedom to make things work out, both balance-wise and just the good flow of the story. Because I definitely felt like we needed to end with the big climactic elemental battle.
Right.
I did not make tokens and sheets for all of them, but I have in the campaign book, obviously, stats for all 4 elementals, because it is possible to just end up with the air cult last, and you have to fight the...
Do you have those tokens? I kind of want to see the tokens.
I don't have the token. I didn't even make, because I knew pretty at this point which one you guys were gonna do, and I didn't start making them until then. But I have pictures if you want to see.
You know, he probably freaked out whenever I was trying to summon the air one, going, "Oh shit, gotta find an air elemental."
What happens if we accidentally summon the air one?
Air guy's really dumb looking.
Just a dude with weird hair.
With kind of tornado hair.
Yeah.
Jan Seabin. The water is just a big ass tidal wave with eyes.
Yeah, okay.
Which seems to be how most of them work. Old Hydra. Earth guy. Pretty cool. Giant mountain. Yeah. He's similar to the fire one where he pulls out earth elementals and just adds them to the fight.
Yeah.
And then Imix, yeah.
The fire tornado.
The fire tornado, yeah. I really loved the ending. I thought it worked out really well. It felt really epic with you guys having to do some heroic ass shit at the end. And you guys picked up on the fact that you have to throw the daggers back in. And then we did, and that was it. That was 57 sessions, and then we did our epilogue at that same, which it actually worked out really well for me, as I had the entire final fight and epilogue as a session, which was fantastic timing, because I could really sink my teeth into making sure that I had the finale timed out well,
right,
as well as all the story beats for the epilogue I wanted to do, which was mainly ended up being the Lich and the Summit Hall stuff. That's what I thought was most interesting and relevant for you guys and for the overall region story stuff, aside from just stopping the elemental evil. So it took us 57 sessions, a little over a year, to do Princes of the Apocalypse. That is a total of 8,771 minutes, 146.18 hours. We averaged 2.5 hours per session. And I actually kept track that it took us 31 in-game days. Since we started the adventure till when you ended, which, if you look at the stats, that's almost 1 long rest per 2 sessions, which seems like a bunch, but a lot of that is travel, obviously. Like, there's a lot of times where you guys...
It lasts longer. Yeah.
Although it wasn't much at the end, you guys were pretty much sticking around in the same area, but towards the beginning and middle areas, I mean, it would still take some time to travel.
Yeah.
But I do think I was definitely very lenient with the long rests. But it kind of had to be, because the dungeon was so big, like, I didn't want you guys backtracking through, like, 3 dungeons to long rest and then go back in. That just felt so tedious.
Yeah.
And I know you're supposed to only short rest in dungeons, but, God, that is a mega fucking dungeon.
Right.
The only other thing I have is I wrote down the mini lives of Tim. For some reason, I kept track of all the Tims and where they died and what they were. Tim is, of course, the zombie pet that Talus resurrected for a chunk of the middle game, basically. Tim 1 was a Kenku in the Air Temple, which was our first Tim. Arose in session... Or no, he died in session 28 to the Dragon Turtle Steam Breath. Tim number 2 is a water priest who died to the Glyph of Warding explosion in session 30, which set off the giant battle. Tim number 3 was an earth cultist, who I believe was the one that was raised in that scene in the town. Died to a pack of eel hounds outside the House of Reeds.
Yep.
Tim 4, I wrote down, was Fangle. Apparently, Talus actually raised Fangle up as a zombie.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Was polymorphed into an ooze by the Ganondorf statue curse in session 38. The ooze form died from Talus's own fireball attack in the Heian fight, and then the zombie form died from the Clockwork Hound in the Yartar cemetery fight in session 42.
Okay.
Tim the 5 was a dwarf priest from the Love Shrine who died the very next encounter to a cone of cold from the Oni. He became a Timsicle in session 43.
Aww.
That was apparently the last Tim we had.
That's the history is one of diminishing returns.
It is.
Tims,
I mean,
each Tim lasted a little bit shorter than the last.
These zombies aren't exactly scaling with your level, so
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's why we abandoned the Tims.
Yeah.
The Arcane Eye proved much more useful. So I'm going to kick it to you guys. If you guys could maybe say what your favorite moment was from our campaign or favorite session or whatever. Chris, you want to kick us off?
I don't know.
I don't know, guys.
I mean...
I've talked so much this session.
Yes, you have. It's just been
Good
your
Lord.
time. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
These black
the
screens
funniest
are
moment
killing me
is
tonight.
fairly obvious, being Catherine poisoning a bunch of fucking cultists.
I think that's everybody's like number one moment.
I mean, that's just the funniest moment in general. Like, that was
What'd you say?
the Catherine poisoning the cultists.
Mm-hmm.
That was just the funniest moment in general.
I think I'll give a pass and say that's probably everybody's like overall number one moment.
Like funniest moment.
Yeah.
I
We
mean,
were all just in
beyond-
tears from that.
Yeah.
I remember being very like all steroids.
Yes, you
Yeah,
acted the
like,
shit
he
out of
sold
that.
it. He sold
He
it.
absolutely sold it. That's why I went off with flying colors. The more you roleplay, the less skill checks you have to make.
As far as like moments, like most of the bosses were like the cool action movie moments, where it's like I just really enjoyed us approaching a boss fight and just fucking one-shotting them, or just dealing with them just swiftly
Yeah.
Without them being able to react, which is like the air boss getting like knocked back into lava or the fire water or whatever.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty great.
It's funny because as a DM, you're really bummed because a lot of times those boss fights have a lot of cool toys for you to play with. And when it happens, you're like, oh, this should be challenging.
We players know that, though. We know that these guys we're about to face have a lot of shit they can do.
Yeah.
So us being able to shut them down, like, immediately is super exciting for us.
It's something I learned that, like, it's, you know, you're ultimately, you want to empower the players. You want to find a line between having some things be challenging, but... And I guess this is different for every group, too. Some groups really like it to be just harrowing and difficult all the time. I think you guys are the opposite. You actually prefer to have things like be like really like heroic and action-packed most of the time, and then occasionally have a few encounters that are like, oh my god, this is insane, like, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's the balance that we can strive for.
I think, I don't even know if we were intentionally doing it, but we built our team to be very... front damage heavy, like very shock and awe. Like we go in there and we do the max amount of damage we can do as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And if the fights go on for a long periods of time, we start doing like worse and worse.
Yeah.
Because we like blow our loads like immediately.
What do you guys think was the most as a brief aside? What do you guys think was the most difficult encounter?
Those damn dog things that wouldn't die.
That was that just took a while. That was probably the longest encounter. I don't know if that was difficult though.
I don't know if there's any combat where 3 of us went down.
No.
There were a few where 2 of us went down.
Really?
I think it's just that one time.
I think it was one time where 2 people went down.
No, I think it happened another time too.
Really? I should have wrote that. I should have written that down. That'd been interesting information to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times the actual
each person went down?
Yeah.
All 4 went down.
Did Kalinar ever go down?
Yeah.
I think he did before he got that charm thing that gave him so many more health points.
That went pretty early on.
I think I was the first one to go down from that flame skull.
Oh, that was in the previous campaign, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
But yeah, it's... Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, what would have happened, DM, if we had all gone down? Because I know there's, like, certain situations you can not call that a team party wipe and have us, like, survive.
I mean, yeah, it should always be just... In my opinion, there is no game over state. It's just now this is a different thing that's happened. So, like, anywhere from you guys are now imprisoned in this cult's dungeon and you have to fight your way out, or, you know, soon after that moment, they're transporting you somewhere else and another cult attacks them and you guys can escape in the... You know, there's ways to deal with that. I was not fully prepared for those ways, but... There would be no game over. And again, other groups might do that kind of thing. Like, you can wipe your party and start again or something, but that's not how I was going to roll with things at all.
Yeah.
I was rarely worried. You guys were kicking everything's ass. There were times where I was worried and underestimated you guys, and you passed with flying colors. But for some reason, I remember that one Wicker Giant fight with the Fire Elemental being a specific moment where I had to... pull my punches.
See, I think you would probably know better than us which were the most difficult fights, because we don't know when you're pulling your punches.
Right.
So it's if you've got 3 guys that could cast Fireball on us and they don't, we don't know that.
And I think I had those Hellhounds join like a round or 2 later than they should have, and like different things, and yeah.
Yeah.
Reese, what was your favorite moment?
Probably Kalinar coming to terms with serving a lich. Doing mental gymnastics to try to just like wrap his character around something powerful.
I was quite pleased with that whole story dilemma. I like that the lich became
I did a good job of selling it. It was moral gymnastics for sure.
Mm-hmm. Your character, you did a good job of acting zealous, and I feel like your wanting to join the Lich was like equally zealous. Like you were just you never half-assed anything. Like you were like, I love this Lich. I love this Lich.
Yeah.
Like
at some point in the campaign, and this is like a terrible thought a little bit, but I started comparing Kalamari to like a straight up like Arabic terrorist. Like that sort of like religious fervor, and it translates into doing terrible things.
Radical radical terrorism,
tears long.
Yeah.
So that's. So sure, yeah. Me bowing to a lich.
Heather, what was your favorite moment?
Probably when I finally got to play the bad guy. That was
nearly drove a permanent stake through the entire party.
that was only your favorite moment.
Yeah.
Yes. We asked for my favorite moment, not
we should talk
everybody
about
else's.
that because that was pretty hilarious in hindsight. Because the three of us had no fucking clue what was going on. We literally thought Heather had got off the rails.
Now, I tried to make precedent that the elemental weapons had some evil things, but then I realized most of you actually hadn't experienced that.
Right. We weren't aware just how like control. I mean, the thing had been around for a while, so I think we just started taking it for granted.
Yeah, I had too. I sold the water one really well, and then I just kind of forgot about the wind one and didn't quite make it as evil.
Fair, like an hour before we started that session, Eric goes, "What are you gonna do?" I was like, "Here's my thought," and he just kind of ran with it. Yeah.
The tricky thing is, and this happened in the Water Node dungeon, is when you guys split up, and I have to go back and forth.
Yeah.
And that gets, those are not necessarily horrible, but they definitely make me more anxious to, trying to balance those things. Thankfully, I think it did create a sense of urgency, which was fun.
Yeah, certainly.
For you guys to like run over there and do it, and I think it made that dungeon more interesting, because otherwise, that dungeon I think is not great designed, and you guys cleared it out like most of it before, so you turned a boring one into a not boring one. Raymond, you can't pick the suicide cult one. We've already gone over that.
I think even though we managed to save the world, every encounter we had with normal people or innocent people, they never agreed with our methods or what we said or our plan. Like everything was just shocking and crazy to these normal people. Our reasons, our justifications, whatever it was. I think our party, which we still don't have a name for.
I know. never named
had a name.
Somebody on YouTube was naming you the Psychotic Few.
Exactly. We had our own ideas of what the right thing was, but no one else agreed.
Yep.
You could at least convince some people that you were staying the course, I guess.
I feel like we were like the movie was terrible, but we were like the Suicide Squad a bit. It was like we're a bunch of people who were probably not great people.
Yeah, I got that impression. But you got the job done.
But we got the job done, so all the people who end up agreeing with us were just sort of like, these people are crazy, but they're doing a good job.
Yeah, so you guys toyed with being anti-heroes a bit.
But I don't think any of us thought we were evil. We were all just
very... Every villain thinks they're the hero of their own story. It's all justified. I am a hero, he says on his throne of bones. Holding the fire orb. Don't make me use this, bro. So, overall thoughts on Prince of the Apocalypse. I thought it was a solid campaign. Seemed to be a pretty good follow-up for all the characters. I liked that I could kind of have it tie into the first one just by virtue of being nearby, like physically.
pretty seamlessly. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Like, in thinking about them, maybe it's because we just use the same characters and just sort of moved from one to the other.
Yeah.
I can't really differentiate between the two. Like, they all feel like one big story to me.
Yeah, that's cool. Had I known I was going to do princes, I probably would have tried to tie in a few more of the elemental stuff to the earlier campaign. But as it was, I think the parts I like the most is the actual just flavoring of the cults. Like, everybody feels very much like they are of that cult. All the monsters are themed. All the dungeons are themed to be that certain element, which is nifty. A lot of the dungeons are really interesting. The Spire, the fact that you can talk your way through it first. Underground water dungeon, the lava dungeon, all those are nifty. The parts I don't like is the fact that every single fucking dungeon of the main quest is tied together.
It's a little too open world.
It makes it a little, so it makes it horrifying for me to have to prep all that, not knowing exactly where you're going to be. And it makes getting to the deeper dungeons annoying because you just backtrack through the same fucking dungeons all the time. How many times do you guys have to go in and out of that Fane of the Eye? Like, a bunch.
Once again, we don't know because we were lost the entire time.
Yeah, I suppose. Like, it just feels like it'd be more interesting to at least go to new places and do new things rather than just literally, like, walking back through the same place.
Same place, right.
Yeah. But I thought it was fun. It was neat to play to that high of a level. I'd never, ever gotten this close in a tabletop D&D or otherwise game, getting up to, like, I don't think I'd ever gotten above, like, 3rd or 4th level, let alone... I guess we hit 12 at the very end. You guys can
12, yeah.
Technically level up to 12 at some point if you want, in case those characters do appear, which we could see. We're going to create, like, a shared universe, so certainly our heroes could appear. We may have to go over where exactly they are, or the DM can decide.
We'll certainly have to go over where they are, because, it's going to become relevant.
Well, or it can be your decision. So, at this point, we can announce our plans for our next adventure. I think I'm going to let Chris announce them, however, for one reason.
Just one reason.
Yeah, you can announce the thing and then also tell why you're announcing it.
So, the next thing we're doing is, chronologically, it's probably about a year after the end of these events. New heroes will be going through the events of the Storm King's Thunder campaign, which I will be DMing.
Storm King's Thunder, which just came out last year.
Yeah.
I want to say it was maybe last fall. Was that the last one?
Maybe.
I think they literally just today or yesterday released the Yawning Portal. To date this episode. Right. And I think the one before that was Storm King's Thunder. I think that was the most
Storm
recent.
King's Thunder just weeks ago released on Roll20, which made it a pretty obvious choice for the next.
So that was going to be my follow-up question: is why Storm King's Thunder? And
so really, it was between this one and Curse of Strahd because that one also seemed really cool.
Yeah.
But Storm King's Thunder released on Roll20, and that is immensely helpful.
Yeah, we'll get a chance to... I guess you've already been looking at it. And the reason our muted response is we've known about this for months, so we're not all celebrating right now. But, so Chris expressed interest in DMing our next campaign. If you've seen... he did a one-shot adventure last fall, I think, called Shadow of the Wild, which was really awesome, and we had a bunch of really positive feedback about it.
October 22nd.
Thank you. There you go. So do watch that one for an example of Chris's DMing. And yeah, expressed interest in doing our next campaign, and this is going to be another big one. I think it's going to be another year-long.
It's probably going to be another big one.
Yeah.
Is this one bigger or shorter than Princes?
It might be shorter than Phandalin plus Princes. Like, it might be shorter than the career of these characters. It'll probably get us to the same level, okay. but it won't be as long as the year and a half we've spent with the characters that we have now.
Yeah. I'm excited about being a player again. That'll be fun. I've been, if you include Shadowrun, I have been DMing for 2 years now. So I am interested in taking a break from that for a bit. But yeah, looking forward to that. Next week will be our session 0, where we'll actually create our characters. We're probably not going to actually live stream that episode because it's going to be a lot of just discussion and like mechanics and things.
Yeah, people typing things into character sheets.
Yeah, I don't know how interesting this session will be. I'm gonna we can record it and just see if it's worth uploading or maybe cutting together and uploading just to have something.
Oh,
And-
also, by the way, we're adding a new player. By the way, that's another exciting.
We're gonna have 5 of us. Reese's wife Rochelle is gonna join us.
I was like, who? Who are we adding?
Oh wait, there's already 5. We're gonna have 6. 5 players and a DM.
5 players, yeah.
Yes, so the new overlay will have a new box.
Yeah.
What was I saying?
Next
And
week.
in another year.
Oh, yes.
In another year, when Reese's little one starts talking.
That's right.
That's
We'll
right.
just keep joining. Yeah, the next generation, the new mutants. The week after that, we would probably start our adventure. Except Raymond, who plays Kethra, is getting married that week. So
Yes, it is.
literally that day. Congratulations to Raymond. We're gonna be in Austin seeing that.
Yep.
So the timing works out pretty well. We just won't start yet
Yeah.
until the week after that. So
Yeah. So there'll be a
If
session
we-
0 where we build our characters next week. Then there'll be a week off, which is
Yeah.
a great week off. Like
yes,
couldn't be
you have more time to
perfectly.
plan. We don't. Yeah, there's not really a gap. We're just in between. So the only thing I don't know is if we don't end up uploading the character building one, we may actually go 2 weeks without a new session, which would be a bummer. But know that we will be coming back in full force with Storm King's Thunder, which, when would that be?
5
Session 1
new
would be the
heroes.
14th.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're making new heroes, obviously, for that one, all level 1. And then just my website, if we don't upload the video, I will at least write down all of our character, which I think I did that for Fandelver. I think I just wrote down
Yeah.
all the character like sheets and backstories and stuff, so that should be fun. Thank you, Soup Can. Yes, Storm King's Thunder looks pretty fun. Roll20 integration is really useful. Dynamic landing is awesome. Yeah, I'm jealous. Like
Yeah,
that would be
yeah.
fucking nice to have.
I mean, after this last year of Eric talking about building these dungeons and building character sheets for all these monsters and shit,
yeah,
like it's all just there right now for me.
yeah, that's
It is all-
amazing.
it's all just right there.
That's how I would. That's probably the only way I would go forward. And it's a shame they don't appear to be adding the older ones yet. The Tyranny of Dragons, Curse of Strahd, Prince of the Apocalypse, and the Out of the Abyss, Rage of Demons. Because all of those are supposed to be pretty solid, and they added Fandelver, and then they just skipped to Storm King's Thunder, and now they also added the Yawning Portal one. So far
Yeah.
they've not gone backwards, which is a bummer. But I guess we'll go forwards. All right. Any other final thoughts on Princes of the Apocalypse before we shut it down for the last time?
Shut it down forever.
Forever.
I'm sad to be leaving Kalinar. His insane
Yeah.
radical religion is.
Yours
Good
particularly has been much beloved on YouTube. Constantly, I get stories of people. I think at literally one point, a group straight up, somebody made a Kalinar and was like playing them. Like, you started a trend. This terribly zealous, semi-evil paladin.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I said, you may see them pop up in our future adventures.
That's true. Yes.
If anybody
These
goes near the
characters- these
Saran
characters
Valley,
now exist in the universe.
Absolutely. I mean, we're seeing Spider-Man in the Avengers. Anything can happen.
That's right.
All right, thank you to Chris, Reese, Heather, and Raymond. I am Eric. We're here normally every week doing Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. This is our final sign-off for Princes of the Apocalypse. We will see you guys in 2 weeks with Storm King's Thunder. See you later.